Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the January 23rd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Kalo. Pardon me? There's more seats up front, everyone. Make sure you find yourself a seat. Commissioner Kalo has our dog from the dog kennel today.
Our featured pet this week is a female boxer mix. She's about a year old. She's extremely friendly. Sit down there. There you go. Come here. Look at that. So if somebody here today gets to take this dog home, it's going to be a prize. But if this is your type of dog, stop down and how many dogs do we have in now? Nelson? About 30 dogs available.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We'll have two public hearings, one at 9:45 the Straw Haag Ditch and at 10 o'clock the proposing rules of Lorain County Solid Waste. Under resolutions, number 1, Job and Family Services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner Kalo. I do have, I don't have the sheet, it's being prepared, but I think there's a couple personnel actions over at WDA with mentoring hires. So I would ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today, we go into executive session to talk about those potential hires and the mentoring program. That's a topic allowable under the Sunshine Law for executive session. So I would ask that we do that at the conclusion of the meeting, have those talks. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same in the County Commissioners meeting minutes of January 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Authorize payment of $1,000 to Misnick Funeral Home, Avon, for indigent veteran John H. Moore in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5901.25.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under Children and Families Council, advertise requests for proposals to provide direct child abuse prevention services for fiscal year 14. Said notice will be in the Chronicle on January 25th, technical assistance meeting on February 14th at 12, and open at 2 p.m. on February 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Under Community Development, approve change order 1 to KF Construction Excavating LLC Clyde in the amount of $34,915 and extend the completion date until January 31st for NSP project of Albany Avenue, Sheffield Township.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Approve and enter into sewer service agreement with City of Lorain for Albany Avenue, Sheffield Township.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, this is an agreement basically for 100 years. It's going to take what the standard was at 130% and raise it to 150%, and then all the tap-in fees are going to go to the city. I would like to actually, we got this late Friday, and went through, I was reviewing it yesterday. I'd like to have this put on hold until next week.
Mr. Cordez, probably have your discussion on this. We have to get this project done by January 31st and have sewer tie-ins done because of the NSP money?
Well, pardon me. We're trying to get it done, yes, and we're all pushing deadlines, but as you know, I've been working back and forth with the city on trying to get an agreement since there was no agreement in place to deal with this. This is a similar agreement that they offered with regard to the Hidden Valley subdivision, and the city has been standing pretty firm.
Where are they on that? Have they
They've offered the
implemented
same,
that?
they've offered the same, and I brought that back. I mean,
Right.
we've talked about
That's-
that.
So I'm asking if they've done anything as of, the rate's gone to 150 in those areas yet?
I've been told by the administration in Lorraine that their posture with regard to outside city contracts as they come due or renewed or new ones, that this is going to be their position to provide services outside the city. Let's tell you, we started at 250.
Right.
And, you know, we've been working down, but I generally, and I think, you know, from the board's discussion with them over the last several months, generally had an idea where they wanted to be at. But this is going to be the type of contract we're going to see on sewer issues
Yeah.
going forward.
I haven't seen anything in writing, though, from them. I know you had a conversation regarding the Hidden Valley. I'm going to call out Trustee Neil Lynch. Neil, have you received anything from the City of Lorain regarding Hidden Valley and the sewer rate increases?
Have them come up. Neil?
There are some more chairs up front.
We won't pick on you if you sit in the front row, we promise.
Good morning, Neil. Has there been any update on the Hidden Valley subdivision and Amherst Township and City of Lorain sewers?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. With the Hidden Valley sewer specifically, it's currently not a percentage increase that they're paying. It's a separate fee. Unfortunately, it's not currently delineated on the bill itself to indicate the fee, but as of the first bill that was just received this month, it's an additional $10.94, and then that fee escalates by, I believe it's a 5% rate increase year over year for the next 5 years. So it's just for that period of time. Obviously, there's still discussion going on between many different parties as to how to bring some sort of closure to this and something that the residents have some certainty in the long term, make sure that they have a good, reliable sanitary sewer system and service, but also something that seems like it's a fair and equitable cost for those residents that feel they're forced into a situation that's a public monopoly, and yet they have no direct input as to what those rates are. So it's not a percentage as, if I understood the discussion that's just occurred, it's actually a separate fee. So that's what's set and established right now. There has been some discussion just on a verbal basis. I know County Administrator Jim Cordez has shared with me discussions he had. I don't know if that included the mayor. It may have been the Safety Service Director Fowler, but the residents have spoken directly to Lorain Mayor Chase Rittenauer, and he has proposed verbally an option of 150%. So, but that hasn't been settled yet in the Hidden Valley area.
I was at the meeting with the residents and the mayor.
Right. And that's
And the mayor has indicated to me that he's agreeable to providing a contract at the 150% or leaving it the way it is. The ball's actually in our court. All I have to do is tell him where the board is interested in that agreement, and we'll have it here. But there was already
130 in the fee.
well, the 130 and the fees are already there, as Neil has indicated.
Right.
So there was no change necessary, and they're not going to send us a whole bunch of stuff unless we tell them we're interested in the 150. That's their offer, that's what they've proffered. And again, being in the middle of this, they said that this is going to be their posture outside the city all through all of these contracts as they're coming due or being renewed, or they're reviewing them, and there's the ability to make those changes. Whether I like it or don't like it isn't the issue. The issue is what I can bring back from the city and where their boundaries are with regard to not going any further. It's up to the board whether they want me to bring back an agreement that they want to consider on the agenda or not. This one came back because Albany Avenue sewer was put in, and it lied outside a service area, and there was dialogue between 3 or 4 entities working on this, and the city and the city engineers and so forth, and they indicated everything was fine to make the tap, and then they withheld the tap in because they said there was no agreement in place. But I do have correspondence from the city people in the sanitary department and in the engineers department agreeing for this tap in. So there was some confusion there, but as it got higher up in the administration, they held off allowing those taps without an agreement.
So what are our two options then at this point? Accept the 150 and do the tap?
Flush or not flush, those are your two options.
I mean, holding it up a week, as Commissioner Williams asked, what is the, Commissioner Williams, you said hold up a week.
Yeah, well, the thing I want to take a look at the contract, and my concern is that they can actually go through and increase service fees.
They can.
That's the issue right now, Mr. Lynch. At the service fee that they're charging, the 130 plus the service fee, they originally had a sewer rate increase from 130 to 200% for residents that actually had a developer's agreement, and they increased it by 70%. They went back to 130 and charged a sewer service fee of $10.94. Is that correct?
Right, it's $10.94 right now.
Which actually equals a 202% increase for some of your residents.
Right, for those that are using a low amount of water. So it's,
Right.
it's disproportionate. That's the difference. The high-end user doesn't feel it as poorly. To them, the $10.94 is better than 200%, but the low water user, the 200% would have been better than the
Right.
fixed fee.
And any type of increase that's given to the residents in the City of Lorain is also passed on
Correct.
to your residents. So if they raise the rates by 8% in the City of Lorain, you also receive an 8% increase.
Correct, and they've just seen that increase again because there is a scheduled rate increase for the next 5 years by ordinance within the City of Lorain for all users of their system. So you're correct, if they increase it in Lorain, it gets increased outside also, plus the additional 130%.
Yeah. And we're going from the 130% now to the 150%. What I would like to see is a more detail-oriented contract, which would eliminate any type of service fees. Because if you're going to add the service fee, it's possible that you'll get up to that 250%.
The service fee was first introduced as a concept that was negotiated on behalf of the residents in Hidden Valley. There was no service fee before this issue happened in Hidden Valley. As a trying to compromise with the various parties involved and everybody working towards a solution, and I think everybody was working towards a solution, multiple parties, including the township, the county, the Hidden Valley residents, they proposed this service fee as an alternative to a percentage increase. And this is a new concept, and I don't think that they're going to have service fees if they have a percentage agreement. The the ability to restrict a rate increase, as you suggested earlier, I don't believe the city's ever going to agree to that any further, because they feel it handcuffs them in the future with regards to certain administrative things that they feel they're empowered to do. Do I believe I could get a restriction on a service fee? Since it's a new concept, I may be able to do that. I hadn't raised that issue, to be completely honest with you. It wasn't something I was looking at because I understood that the service fee was something that we weren't desirable to do simply because it was disproportional across the business line. So can I get that from the city? I can ask them. You can either wait on the agreement, pass the agreement, and tell me to get a restriction on a service fee and only keep it as a percentage. But here's the thing: if there's no restriction on increasing the percentage, why would they need a service fee?
Right.
See, sometimes you gotta leave one issue and pay particular attention to what you can do here. If there was a restriction on the rate they could charge in a percentage, then I would say, well, we better be careful so they don't sneak in the back door and give us a service fee.
Right.
But there's no restriction on what they can do with the rate, so they don't need to introduce that concept again. That concept would be moot by the fact that they can raise the percentage.
I'm looking at the new contract that we're talking about here is actually having that included where we get some type of restriction at least to protect the individuals where they're not going to have the service fee that gets implemented a few years later.
I'm not disagreeing with what I'm saying is there's no restriction on raising the percentage. So we restrict the service fee, they raise the percentage. It
Right.
has the same effect.
So right now it's at 150%, but they still have the ability to do it.
Yes, they do.
So
They can
then
raise
what's
it
the
as high as they
agreement
like.
for it anyhow? Why enter into a 99-year agreement if there's nothing we can do?
The agreement is to provide service.
Right.
That's where I think I would like the time to go through to look at it. I'll mark it up, what I would like to see changed, and I can give it to you by Friday.
Oh, that's up to the
And then
board.
see if we can work something out with the City of Lorain.
Just for discussion purposes, when we were anticipating putting the west side sewer in, what was the rate agreement for that project with the city?
We was at 125.
It was 125?
Yes.
But remember, it was a massive sewer, and we were agreeing to upgrades. We were also putting in a very deep sewer, and we were putting in a trunk line, and we had hoped, and a bigger view, this was a long time ago, to be able to capture flow from Amherst and potentially, because they were in some EPA issues at the time, shut that plant down. So they were looking at volume issues to be able to increase
The rate of return.
the rate on the west side plant, plus we were looking at potentially doing upgrades to that plant with them, using the money from the project out in the quarries, the TID funding.
Correct.
So we were able to negotiate a better fee because we had much more volume and the ability to assist them with plant upgrades.
And they didn't have any tie-in to the cost of the sewer because at the original
We
agreement
were
was a
paying.
developer pay plus the users and the county's involvement with the engineering.
Mr. Lynch, you were in a meeting with me when we were talking with the engineers and the associates there, and I believe, Mr. Ennis, you were there too. One of the conversations that came up through the engineers, they actually do this for a living, was they felt 150% was extremely high for the services that would need to be maintained for sewers that were going into the Elyria Township and Sheffield Township that currently aren't under a contract. Is that correct? You remember that conversation?
Yes, Commissioner Williams, to both questions. I do recall the conversation, and yes, to the question as far as 150% they thought was high.
Yeah. So,
Well, when
That's
we
vague.
when we went to the City of Lorain to try to discuss or, beg them to reduce the rates or do something to offset the cost for the residents, their consultant actually thought the rate was at 150%. They didn't even know, it was Corey Timko that said, no, it was 130%. So
yeah.
I don't know if why their consultants thought it was 150.
Yeah, I know
That
there,
was like a going rate, but other areas from what they've been telling us are even higher than that, like 200%.
yeah, I know the consultants actually did some work and did a report. If you actually read the report, there are areas that you could go in and actually, the report's conflicting. So, again, I'm just gonna ask that you could delay it 1 week, and that way I could give a markup and see what we could do here.
Well,
I think Jerry has something.
Yeah, good.
Mr. President, I would just indicate that I looked at that agreement over this weekend, and I did indicate to Jim that I thought there could be some tightening of that language. So unless it really is urgent today, I would support Mr. Williams, and that, we might want to take a week to look this over a little bit more.
Do we have, Jerry, have you looked at where to tighten the language up at?
Yes.
Well, let me say what council has indicated. It wasn't a lot. It was to get a restriction on being able to raise the fee.
Right.
That wasn't like a lot, and I'm telling you now that I'll go back and ask again, but I know what the answer was the first time I asked. Because if you think I didn't ask for that, you're mistaken. I did.
We've always talked about that.
But I will ask them again. What the language that was suggested was that they cannot change this fee except by mutual agreement. Now, think about that for a moment on the city standpoint. I'm not supporting the city here, and I'm not saying this fee isn't high. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's unfair. All right? I don't evaluate those issues. I evaluate what I can get in this negotiation, and I will go back and I'll ask for those things again. But recognizing that we don't have a lot of leverage in this issue.
The language that's in there that restricts it to the 150% raise relates it to the in-city rate, but the language there's language in there that suggests that by amending their ordinances, they could get around that and have different. So I propose language that would make sure that if they're going to raise the rates for the township residents above the rates of the city residents, that they have to, one, by mutual agreement, or they at least have to come forth and show justification as to demonstrating that the cost to the city for treating the residents is different than what they treat. Again, it's just a suggestion to tighten it up. Jim may be right. They may reject it, but if we have a week, I would at least like to propose that so that we can justify to citizens in the future we did our homework and we tried at any rate.
Is that okay? I don't have a problem with that. Jim, you're going to go back and then see if you can get that somewhat?
So whatever the board suggests. I'm just giving you what's occurred, where we're at. This isn't my personal desire here. This is just a job. And I wish we had a little bit of better leverage. I wish we were in a little bit of a better situation.
Wish we had our own sewage plant.
Well, and I also wish we didn't have a sewer in the ground waiting for taps.
Without an agreement.
Right.
Yes.
So you sent me out to get something done, and you asked me to build a house with a plastic hammer. There wasn't much. What am I going to say? No, we're not going to do that. I don't have the ability to say that. We have the pipe in the ground. The houses are ready to go. So hopefully, maybe they'll feel very in the New Year spirit and give us something a little bit different.
We're doing it in order to improve the county, and I would hope that they would see that as this is a way to improve the county by getting the sewers. At 150%, that is, I think, a fair amount, but we just need to get the contract that's going to protect the residents that are going to build in that area. The one thing we don't want to see is we don't want to see people who are now forced into these sewers that end up getting a sewer bill like in Hidden Valley that was hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, this will be, just covers the Albany Avenue area, but I will not suggest less than this. It's probably going to mirror what we're going to see in the future. So while it's a small area, it's an important contract.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Thank you.
Go back, Jim. Have marching orders. I'll withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
And we'll hold for a week.
Okay, thank you.
Under Golden Acres, approve and enter a professional services agreement with Plant Moran in the amount of $6,500 to complete cost reports for both Medicare and Medicaid for year ending 2012. Cost was reduced by $400.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the engineer, certify the annual county highway system mileage in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 4501.04 for 2012. Mileage for 2001 was 269.698 miles.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Proceed by force account for normal and general maintenance and repair during the year 2013 on county roads for safety of the traveling public.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Amendment Resolution 12666, adopted October 10, 2012, contract with Lake Erie Construction for guardrail replacement project Phase 5. Said amendments to reflect the change order and notice to proceed from October 12 to February 5, 2013, and this is due to inclement weather.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Rowland.
Aye.
Approve and enter an engineering service agreement with LJB Inc., Cleveland, in the amount of $10,108 to provide design engineering services for load rating of 4 bridges. Authorize engineer to execute documents on behalf of the board. The prosecutor's approval as to form, and is funded 100% through CAO.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Under the sheriff, approve and enter in a service agreement with Licata to provide alcohol, drug, substance abuse, and individual counseling services, along with other educational life skills programs to the inmates, effective February 1st, 2013 through January 31st, 2016, and this contains a 30-day cancellation clause. Licata will provide 32 hours per week at $21 per hour for 2013, $22 per hour for 2014 and 15.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
We'll go into the public hearing.
Yep.
Today is the public hearing on a petition request of Twin Lakes Homes to clean and/or remove obstructions from the Straw Haag Ditch, aka Straw Ditch, and its lateral ditches that intersect Chadwick Drive, continuing south to its intersection with Russia Road, Elyria, Ohio. In accordance with Section 6131 of 07 of the Ohio Revised Code, notice is hereby given and petition filed. City of Elyria issued check in the amount of $250, as well as another one for $250 for a total of $500 for the ditch bond. The construction of the improvement is necessary and will be conducive to the public welfare. The following is a course and termini of said proposed improvements, to wit, commencing at a point where the Straw Haag Ditch intersects Chadwick Drive, continuing south to the intersection with Russia Road. All costs of engineering, construction, and future maintenance will be assessed to the benefit of parcels of land. The following is the nature of the work petitioned for: cleaning of and removal of all obstructions, including but not limited to slit, debris, log jams, and drift from the existing ditch to the course of termini. June 12, 2012, engineer reviewed petition and met with the City of Elyria engineering staff, and recommendations were: change projects limits to Rush Road to Chadwick Drive. Estimated cost shall include clearing and grubbing and dipping and clearing of the ditch. Estimate is $115,700. There are 438 parcels to be petitioned for construction and maintenance. June 20, 2012, clerk sent a letter to City of Elyria Assistant Prosecutor Bruenig indicating the engineers in City of Elyria Engineering Department recommendations, and based this, there is additional charge of $2 per parcel over 200, so additional $476 was due to proceed. November 20th, City of Elyria Assistant Prosecutor Bruenig, a check was issued in the amount of $476 for the additional parcels to proceed with the amended petition. November 28, 2012, Resolution 12758 accepted the amended petition from Twin Lakes Homes Limited by Kimble McRae Masters, successor trustee, along with setting the viewing and hearing. View of the proposed Straw Haag Ditch took place on Tuesday, December 18, 2012 at 9:15 at Twin Lakes Homes Limited, 42660 Albrecht Road, Elyria. Hearing was set for today, and notification was placed in the Chronicle on December 7th and 14, 2012. 315 property owners were notified, to include 438 parcels by first-class mail. 37 were undeliverable, therefore were notified in the second publication. There were numerous residents that called for further explanation of the viewing, hearing, assessments. The filer and residents voiced objection. Clara Carnett, Lenny Price stated he should not be involved, not in the area. Virgil Montina and Sharon McCarty object to this, stated that this ditch does not back up and he should not be obligated to pay for someone else's ditch. He stated the trailer park should clean and should have put sewers in when it was built. The natural fall of State Route 113. The watershed on the map breaks off at Fowl Road, and no one can come on somebody's property. The trailer park started small and expanded. This is why they have problems. Amy Leonard and her parents, Frederick and Donna Epley, stated that they are not by the ditch and should not be assessed. Geauga Savings Bank stated that they sold this property.
Thank you. Before everyone gets the opportunity to speak, Jerry, could you swear in those who are going to speak this morning? If you plan on coming up to the microphone and speaking, if you could please stand and be sworn in for testimony.
Anybody, even if you're not sure, you think you might want to say something, I'll ask that you be sworn in. Each of you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you shall give today shall be the truth as you shall answer unto God or under penalty of the law of perjury? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's also a
Sign-in sheet.
a sign-in sheet that everybody needs to sign in for this hearing. I'm not sure where it's at, but it's going around.
It's back there. Is it filled out? Did everyone get an opportunity to sign the sheet?
I don't think it came up this way.
It didn't come up on top?
Okay.
Okay. Eric's got it. If I can call up Mrs. Kimble Masters from Twin Lake Homes. If you have any comments, please, you are the petitioner on this ditch. We can
No.
get you one way or the other, it's okay.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I want to thank you for your time with this matter.
Please introduce yourself and who you're with, Kim.
My name is Kimble Master. I'm with Twin Lake Homes, 42660 Albrook Road, Elyria, Ohio. Our main problem, as you probably know at this point, is for the past 5 years, we get 2 inches of rain and huge amounts of flooding in the park. It's caused problems with the residents. They can't get out of their driveways. The ambulances, fire departments have trouble getting in. We have lots of elderly and handicapped people in the park that have obviously big problems with this. I brought a picture. Our maintenance man was brave enough to stand in this mess. You could see that it would be a big problem. Here's one of our handicap homes. She has 2 ways out, both of which were covered with water. There was no way for her to get out. At one point, one of the elderly residents called for an ambulance. The ambulance couldn't get in. They called the fire department, and the fire department had to carry the people out. So you could see it's a big problem for us. I know that when you sent the letters out, I think last year, that did help. There were a lot of people that did clean out their ditch, so it was alleviated temporarily. So I know that cleaning out the ditch does help. And I think that, if you live along the ditch, we're responsible to make sure that it happens. Unfortunately, we have ditches. I'm sure you don't like ditches at this point. I don't either. But it would be great, and it would help a whole lot of people if we could have it cleaned and maintained at a regular interval. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kim.
Commissioner, if I may, Kim, do you want us to keep those pictures as part of the record?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You can give it to the clerk, Kim.
I'll decorate my office.
Yeah.
And mount it on your wall in your office.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Who is representing the engineer's office this morning? Is it Wayne?
Wayne or George?
George, someone? Any comments about this ditch at all, Wayne? Explanation, we had a large hearing. For those of you who didn't attend, there were probably about 70 people there. Then in November, beginning of December, they had a lot of questions and concerns. There were other options given, actually possibly extending the area out to the cemetery, was brought up by some of the residents. I don't have my notes for that here today. Mr. Mileti from the county engineer's office.
Yeah, Wayne Mileti, county engineer's office. When we had first looked at the ditch, we went to Russia Road and we looked south, and it looked like it was maintained. There's a piece in the city that could be fixed up or cleaned up. We didn't feel that we needed that on the project, so we
Okay.
dropped it out.
So that was
So we're
walked
going
and
from-
looked at? That was walked and looked at, though, the cemetery property that people kept bringing up in the meeting?
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And there was
You
no
went out and looked at it
obstruction?
after we had that hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, went down there. It's free flowing. So we decided to go from Chadwick to Russia Road. And the petition states, to inform you that we will, based our estimate on cleaning, what we can remove, and that includes silt, debris, log jams, drift, any debris, like it could be tires, anything like this sort. So this is what one would do. We're not just gonna go in there and just hog out everything in the ditch and go to town. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna clean it up. We're gonna clean the banks. We're gonna have that trimmed out. And this, any obstructions we're gonna remove. That's our plan, for the money we're doing it for. And our estimate's $115,000, I believe.
Right. Total project cost $134,000.
Total, yes.
Yeah, 1,323.22 acres, an annual maintenance fee of $5,785. Question for you, because we were just out the one in Brighton last week, we'll be having public hearings on, Wayne. Will there be swaths cut the 4 foot deep like we were talking out in Brighton, or how wide of a pass has to go through the property?
Oh, this won't be like that, no.
Okay.
No. This will just clean up the banks, removing the channel, any debris, like it states, log jams, obstructions, anything like this. Silt beds that we want to get rid of, just improve the flow. We're not going to set a dimension on the ditch width. Some parts is quite wide, and we like that storage, so I think getting it flowing is going to do the trick to improve a lot of this drop in elevation of the water.
Have you identified a lot of the log jams and the issues with?
Mostly
debris?
south of Russia, I guess, a lot of the log. It goes through part of Metro Parks too, just south of Russia there, so.
And is that part of the petition? Or does that extend past the petition?
That's part of it. It goes, not south of Russia, I'm sorry, Albrecht. From Albrecht, we go to Russia. There's log jams right down in there. It's just tie-ups, yes. We remove those.
Is there anything the actual property owners could have done to avoided this? Normal maintenance, or help me out, Wayne? This is a long ditch and there's been a lot. This is the biggest ditch hearing I've been through in 8 years, guys.
There's responsibility on the landowner, as we know, when it's not maintained by the county. The thing, good with the petition process, that if you go through that process, you do the project at one time, you pick the limits, and you know things are uniform, and you know what you're going to maintain in the future. My preference is that I know the costs involved all the people, but if you get it on county maintenance, at least you have every year inspections, you see what the problems are, and you can take care of them. Property owners sometimes don't get all to every problem they may have, but the main thing with I think with the petition is, like, you're doing the whole project and you know what you got. Then you go back every year and check out everything and see how it's performing. Now, if we do have problems down the way with one area, yes, we could, with a petition ditch, we can address that at the time if something develops or something occurs.
Do you think the way we've got it laid out now currently in the proposal and the petition that it will address the issues? Or will it go farther north? Or
I think it's the right step to start with for the money, yes. I really do. Which amounts to clearing, grubbing, cleaning up debris, silt. Most of your, I don't know if, when I looked at the overall topo map, most of the fall in the ditch or elevation change appears to be from the north side of the trailer park to just about the county garage. And that's where most of the fall, that's where there's very little fall in that area. And it's flat, it's very flat grade, and that's why I think we're having this trouble getting rid of the water.
Yeah, we're $9,500 roughly is the county's participation in the construction part of this.
Yeah.
Now, you said this was a good first step. What do you think the probability that this is going to eliminate the
Well,
water issues?
what I mean, if it's on maintenance, if we do have a problem in an area that we might have to look in later to regrade or something like this, that would be a possibility with the money we got.
What would you put the probability that this is going to eliminate the issue at the mobile park?
At the park, what would it do to the park?
As far as the water issues that they're having right now at the park, at Twin Lakes Homes, I should say.
It'll help, definitely help. I can't say definite numbers. We're going to drop it right out of there. She definitely is going to have with 2 inches of rain, everything backs up, that's true. But, and also in that area, it's flat, it's very flat and grade. But it definitely will help continuance of the ditch flow.
Now, how about going north of Twin Lakes home property, going to West Ridge Greens, which is part
Now
of
I'm
this?
going up to Chadwick.
Right. How about going forward from there? We have any idea of how that looks going north?
It looks mostly overgrown with brush and whatnot. Didn't see many obstructions. I couldn't tell water was full in the ditch. So there probably could have been, we haven't surveyed anything. I have no records or any elevations to tell you
Okay.
right now, but, you know, to give you any kind of guide. But it looked like most water was just sitting in the ditch going nowhere.
Jerry, do you have anything to add to this conversation in regards to the ditch petition or rules or anything you'd like to add before I let people speak?
Just, Mr. Mileti, excuse me, in your opinion, is this necessary and conducive to the public welfare of the residents in that area?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you. I don't know if you want to have people from the city engineers or the city.
City here today? I'm sorry. Anyone from Elyria City Engineers? Eric, sir, I'm sorry, I didn't see you back there. Okay. I think you were blocked when they were swearing people in, Eric.
I was on.
He was up.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, I was here. Thanks. Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Bruenig, Assistant Law Director, City of Elyria, 131 Court Street, Elyria. Just for clarification purposes, there may be a little bit of confusion. I talked to Teresa the other day about this. We are not technically a petitioner or co-petitioner on this. Council's mandate when we came up with this plan was to support the petition by Twin Lakes, and we did provide some, some engineering manpower and some legal assistance as far as preparation of that petition, as well as we contributed to paying the fee. You'll see that we paid the entire fee on our books. They actually reimbursed us for half of that. So just to clarify that at first, we are not an actual petitioner, but we do support this process going forward, particularly because this ditch has been really neglected for a period of years. And that is what has driven the problems at this point in the opinion of our engineering department, the city in general, and we, and in our conversations with Twin Lakes, we've come to realize that just the general state of that ditch, the whole length of it really that we're petitioning for, we actually petitioned for a different portion of it initially, and on Wayne's recommendation, we did amend that later on to really get that affected area looked at. But again, it's just the general condition of that ditch affects property that's owned by the city, owned by our residents, and we want to just ensure, this whole area, I'm no engineer, and I don't want to, put any quote-unquote expert testimony out there, but my understanding from our engineers, from talking with Wayne and our engineers, is that this whole area really is in a floodplain, and if you don't have that ditch cleared out and properly draining, this whole area is really going to be negatively affected, and that's what's been happening over the past 15, 20 years. It's our hope that we get this cleaned out, and yes, it is an expense to us, it's an expense to the county, to individual residents, we recognize that, but it's really something that should have been done for a long period of time at this point. So we're kind of hitting it all at once. It is going to be a big chunk. We understand that. We apologize. But hopefully from this point forward, like Wayne was saying, we'll be able to maintain it. We'll be able to catch those problems as they arise in the future and keep the costs down for everyone while improving the drainage of that whole area. So, I don't have anything specific. John, does anybody from our department have anything to add to what Wayne mentioned? No.
Okay. Wayne pretty much covered it from our standpoint, but happy to answer any questions from any of the commissioners or audience members to the extent that I can. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just preparing the petition, helping out Twin Lakes to the best of our ability, and just our residents in general. Thank you. It's all city, but do we have township here representation from the south side?
Yep, Rob Scheithauer's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here in
Could you
support...
introduce yourself, Rob, so they know who you are?
Rob Scheithauer, Elyria Township Trustee.
Thank you.
I'm here in support of a couple of my bosses and they are here today. They reside in Elyria Township and on Murray Ridge Road. And I viewed a couple of the parcels, and I'd like to have the commissioners hear them out. They do have some pictures to share with you if you can view them. And hopefully, when you hear what they have to say, that you can delete their fees. But once you hear them out, I think you might consider that. So I'd like to ask Doug Skladen to come up forward and Tony Andrusyzn, if you'd like to hear them out.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
May I bring forward some...
Please introduce yourself.
My name is
Address.
Doug Skladen, owner of the property at 9136 South Murray Ridge Road. May I bring some pictures
Please.
forward? Thank you.
That's okay,
That's
we'll
okay.
share them. We can give that to you.
My property is over 1,000 feet, the back edge of the property. It's a parcel 200 by 800, and the back edge of the property is over 1,000 feet from Straw Haag Ditch. It used to be farmland behind my property, and now is the Marsh Landings development. And as you can see from the pictures, the back end of my property is flooded, and the structures, the building structures that you see behind it is Marsh Landings. When the city had built Marsh Landings, they raised the property behind me and to the north, which is one parcel to the north, over 4 feet high. And now my property is retained and blocked off from the natural watershed that was there back to the Straw Haag Ditch. So looking at all the property, this is in the spring. A couple of years ago, I took the pictures and did talk to the city engineers at the time about the problem. And I'm contained because their property is higher on their property line than my property. Then they have a small ditch between their property going back to their retaining pond. Okay, but I'm getting no benefit whatsoever from whether you clean the ditch or not. I can't, my water does not flow. There's a small gap we've tried to cut in to get to the ditch. The drainage pipe is higher than the ground that they put in. I don't think it works. We get a lot of water back there, and it just lays.
Does it say saturated? Bless you, Commissioner. Does it just say saturated all the time, Mr. Skladen?
Yeah, most of the time it's wet. It's killed a lot of the natural trees and woodland that I've kept back there. Our property is wooded in the front and wooded in behind, and we kept that for animals, birds, deers, and so forth. But a lot of the trees are dying just because of the water, but it doesn't no longer flow as it did in previous years. We've been out there 40 years. We built there.
When did the development go up that it blocked you?
I believe the development went up about 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And I tried to talk to them about that time, and not enough was done. Now, the property owners, both to the north and south, have similar problems. There's 4 parcels there that are in the township right on the south side of the road, and we're just kind of contained by city. But that Marsh Landings goes behind and then back out to Murray Ridge, and that is city property. So you can see how high that high the buildings are, and that's directly west is, and beyond that is the retaining pond, and beyond that is the ditch. So I'd just like to request some waiver of why we're being assessed. Thank you.
Fix the issue. Or fix the issue to get rid of your water.
That's a city issue and not the issue about the ditch, but correct. Thank you.
Any questions, Commissioner?
You need those?
We're going to get
Okay,
those
if you
Teresa?
Keep those, please.
Any questions, Commissioner? Or, sir?
Well,
Oh, I do.
no, I was going to have Wayne come back up and have him take a look at this, just see what his
Well,
input
I
was.
think he's part of the same issue, maybe.
Yep.
So let's do those, and then we'll get comments. I think we have to ask the City of Elyria engineer also a question.
Okay, yeah, I'm Anthony Andrusyzn, 8788 Murray Ridge Road. I've been at the home all my life, 43 years. The issue I have is I'm actually landlocked. I have 2 large farm properties between me and that ditch, which is over a half a mile away from the corner of my property. And I am landlocked. I'm getting charged for a fee and also maintenance for something that has nothing that's going to benefit me. Again, I'm over a half a mile from the edge of my property. I have no tiles going into that ditch. I have nothing to do with the ditch. I am up on top of the ridge, so I have no problem with flooding, not as bad as Doug has. But the main issue is I'm getting charged for something that's not, it's like me throwing money out the door. It's not gonna benefit me anything. So that's my main beef and what I wanted to say. I don't think it's fair I'm getting charged for something that it's not gonna help me. I do not have a problem paying for anything that'll benefit me. If you're willing to take a tile from the corner of my property and run it all the way back to that ditch so I can tie in it, I'll pay you the money. That's not a problem. But the main issue is it's not gonna benefit me. Times is hard right now. We're in recession. That little bit does count, so just take into consideration.
You said you're higher than everybody else. Your runoff goes somewhere, so I'm assuming the topography shows you were in that watershed area. So
Right.
there is a benefit.
It's
to your
all
property.
sandy soil there. I'm up on the ridge. By the time anything that lands in my property will be to China before it gets that ditch. I guarantee you that.
That'll probably be a question with the engineer we have to answer.
But I'm just saying, I'm landlocked. You're charging the people behind me the 2 properties, then me. I think you're double dipping also, so I wanted to get that out. You're charging for the same frontage. If, like I said, if I was right on that ditch or tied into it, I have no problem. But it's not gonna benefit me. Thank you.
Wayne, Commissioner Williams would know if you...
Commissioners, I seen one more resident come in. Is Jay Fowl still here? Is Jay here? Jay, would you want to speak?
Has he been sworn in yet, Rob? You said you saw him come in.
Yeah, he came in early, but
Oh.
did you swear in, Jay? Would you hear Jay out?
Yes.
And thank you
Wayne
very
from the
much for your
engineer's
time,
office,
okay?
could you come up here to get these pictures to look at?
My name is Jay Fowl, 9256 West Ridge Road. I guess I'm here representing myself as well as my sister. We own farmland along the Straw Haag Ditch. We also have a ditch that's called the Fowl Ditch, which is a project that was a group project brought forth through the Lorain Soil and Water Conservation District when funds were available for that project. We had some, I believe, 25 to 30 landowners involved. That was a petition ditch. It also, funds were made available through the commissioners for the project, and a maintenance fee was assessed onto the people who drain into this, the watershed. This was a very, very good idea, and I'm very unhappy that the money was taken away from the people who have drainage issues in this county because it benefited so great. I mean, there was no assessment to the people, they just had to pay a maintenance fee. And my other contention is everybody who owns land has a water issue. If you own an acre, if you own 1,000 acres. Years ago, all this land, I'm 58 years old, I've been there my whole life. Years ago, this land was all farmland. I can remember this ditch being the same size, basically, before the widening and other construction was done along Twin Lake Homes and maybe West Ridge Green, trailer parks. But when we have 2 inches of rain, that's one thing. What if we have 5 in 2 hours or 6 hours? An issue that I have is if we don't start at the outlet where this ditch empties into the river, which would be south of Oberlin-Elyria Road, and then it goes, from there it goes north to the cemetery property. I'm I'm not sure this is going to alleviate total problems by everybody with the massive rain. We're looking to do something here in the engineer's office that we're just going to clean up everything, but really not widen anywhere. So yes, we will improve the situation, but to solve a problem by just doing this, I'm not so sure. Question arose from my neighbor. We have a government land right behind us owned by the FAA. Are they also going to be assessed for this?
Yeah.
Because they have 85 acres which drains into that ditch too. So I'll,
$8,903.18.
for the FAA property?
Yes, for the construction.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, okay. So,
I went through all that, trying to see where all the parcels were and who had them and percentage of expenditures.
What was the amount again, sir?
89, I'll put my glasses, I think it says 890318 from here. 890318, that would be the federal, and I will give you the, find it here, parcels. There were 3 parcels under feds. It's listed as federal on here. I don't know if you have a list of all the petitioners or not. We've got about 15 pages, so you have to give me a second to find.
Should highlight them.
I
It's
did.
on page 14, but they're exempt.
Page 14 has
Hey,
it?
Wayne, can you come up here?
These are federal government.
Yeah, United States of America. I'm assuming that's the FAA property.
They're exempt though.
Just from the maintenance, fee,
Yes.
not from the
Up here.
construction.
I need
just
to
from
give
the
you the
maintenance.
pictures.
Correct. It's on page 14 of the petition process. And it's, pardon me?
clerk has it.
Oh, here we go.
What's that?
The pictures. I want
Oh,
you to look
okay.
at while you're looking at those.
Lorain County, ma'am? Somebody asked the question how much Lorain County was,
Because of that.
or no?
Yeah, the lady in the front row there.
No, Lorain County's $9,301.47.
Do you have them all again?
City of Elyria is $1,388.39. Twin Lakes Corporation is $8,649.31. West Ridge Green is $4,779.86. Those are the larger ones. And there's some smaller ones in there with Metro Parks, but those are the larger ones, so the larger acreage that are affecting. Go ahead, sorry, Mr. Fall.
Okay. A couple other points, quickly. We pay an assessment to our taxes on the project for the Fowl Road ditch. Now we're asked to pay an assessment on this part of the ditch. I guess my concern is when we're paying an assessment on water that's flowing from our land into the ditch now, is it really fair to have us have to pay an assessment for other parcels down the line that is flowing in there also? That's a concern I have. And
Excuse me, clarification, you're paying the
Fowl
assessment
Road.
of Straw Haag, you're just paying an assessment on Fowl Ditch
Fowl
you're talking
Ditch,
about, right?
yes.
So your
Which
property
is a
must
lateral.
also drain into Straw Haag Ditch?
correct, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I guess just my last point is, for years, we've not had in this county a comprehensive plan to address the needs of drainage. And it's a big problem, it's a big money problem, but if money could be set aside somehow to attempt to clean major ditch projects in this county, 1 or 2 a year, I think it would be a start and a benefit to everyone.
Jim, do you want to talk about the SWAC?
Well, I can a little bit. Well, we're working on that, and funds are being set aside. We have a small fee coming into the stormwater ditch for the stormwater district. And we do use a portion of those funds, and we have done a number of ditch projects already, and we have a number that are being recommended by the townships now for grant money to do work on. So we're moving in that direction and with a very positive movement forward. In fact, these are all stormwater plans I'm looking at right here that need to be reviewed for various elements of the district to comply with EPA requirements, and also to start working jointly with the municipalities and the villages to address the water moving north. And most of the water moves north, and so things that we do affect other jurisdictions, like this one here with Elyria at the end at the ditch with the cemetery down there. You can see that, we have to work with the municipality. So we are doing those things, and the stormwater district came into existence about 2 years ago, and we've done quite a bit of work, and we're going to continue to do more going forward. And hopefully we'll be able to be ahead of some of these issues. But the cost of cleaning all of these ditches and maintaining all of these ditches, and I don't know if Ken Carney's here, but he gave me some facts about how many miles of ditches there were, and how few were on maintenance, and Wayne probably knows those things. It's much bigger than anybody realizes, and it's going to be much more costly than anybody realizes. But I'm pleased to tell you the board did take this on about 2 years ago, did form the district, did apply the fee, and we are doing a lot of that work now.
Is there any funding from the SWAC that could be dedicated to this project to offset some of the cost?
Commissioner Williams had slid me a note also on that. We could take a look at it. We have a round of grants going on right now. The district brings in about $650,000 a year. We have about 150 dedicated to various projects we did already that we're paying for. But the compliance issue is costing a few $100,000 to prepare all the plans, and the EPA is more concerned with pollution than they are with flooding. And you go back and forth between the Army Corps of Engineers, the EPA, the residents with flooding, and you'll see that the money available is just minute compared to the magnitude of the problems that we're facing. But we may be able to mitigate some of this, and we should take a look at it. I don't want to confirm that until we see where the budget numbers come down. There is $80,000 to $100,000 set aside for grants for ditch cleaning this year. One of the things that raises a request higher is when there's local funding. Some of the townships have put a little bit of money into it. This way they elevate their project on the priority scale, they get more points. Very similar to the way the state ranks projects. We do the same thing. Right. So whatever partnerships can be developed, the more collaboration is brought to it, the more priority is given to funding that project. So we could take a look at it. Well, right now, we don't have this in front of the stormwater district to look at. Plus, the issue of maintenance has been debated back and forth on whether these ditches that go on permanent maintenance or don't go on permanent maintenance. And depending on the project, I've seen people be on both sides of the court on this one. And so we've developed a posture that if we clean the ditches with stormwater money, they're not going on permanent maintenance. But in the long look, ditches such as this that are so massive, so big, and it impacts so many people, and the watershed is so large and it impacts multiple jurisdictions, I'm not quite sure that we could sustain the ability to do these ditches without putting them on permanent maintenance just alone on the stormwater fee. Right. And that's another issue that we're going to have to long-term wrestle with. I don't want to set up a house of cards. So I'd like to leave something a little better for those that are going to come after us. But the funding is while it's there, it's definitely not enough to accomplish all the goals.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is this in relation to the same area? Excuse me, sir. Is this in relation to the same area when you sent him up here, Rob? If not, I was going to have a question for the city of Elyria and our county engineer in regards. You gave the pictures away, Tom.
Wayne has them.
Oh, Wayne. Can we get you over here, Wayne?
He could stand.
While we're on one issue, might as well talk about that one first. Wayne, there were a couple issues brought up.
News to me, Commissioner, really. This is news to me about the flooding here. I never saw these before, so.
Well, I have a question, just from the county engineer's standpoint.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Skladen, can you hold on 1 second? From the county engineer's standpoint, and again, that's in the city of Elyria side, it looks like abutting Mr. Skladen's property.
what is the general protocol if they're gonna raise property 4 feet high on a building and the runoff there, and it's probably direct between Wayne and yourself, so probably gonna need both of you to discuss this. Wayne, what's the protocol?
There's usually some zoning laws, sometimes they have
Sir,
zoning laws.
you can go over to this podium if you
But
want.
what I would say is that you're not allowed to fill your land and block the flow of water. You cannot do that legally.
And that's what Mr.
That's a
Slade's
lawsuit.
alleging happened.
That can be handled, yes.
Right, and that's what you're alleging,
I
Mr.
mean,
Slade,
this
that your
is-
property was blocked, correct? Okay, well, we've got everybody here, let's address it one issue at a time.
Might want to pull that mic up.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them what you are.
John Schneider, Assistant City Engineer with the City of Elyria. I know when that subdivision was put in, there was grading done around the whole entire subdivision. Drain tiles were put in, existing grades were matched, and drainage was provided. As part of the plans, if the developer came across any drain tile, they were to tie that in also. So I'm not 100% sure of what the issues are out here. We could look into it, but.
Can we put that somewhere on, while we're going in between these hearings, for that to be looked at by the, because I'm
Sure.
assuming that's on your property and not the township's property, or doing it dual? To see what the issue is, Mr. Skladen's property properly?
Right,
We can look
say the
into
city
it. It's
would
technically
handle
not on our property. It's private property over there, but we can definitely look
But
into
if
the
something
drainage
wasn't
issue.
done properly that's prohibiting the draining.
Yes, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
As long as the water's picked up, I think that was the original complaint. It was blocked, and then there was no means of drainage to pick up the water, to take it to the swampland. I think that was his original problem. When he called me, I believe that's what he had. He said there was a mound of dirt built and blocked all his property's water. Have you looked at that, John?
It's been a long time since I've looked at those plans, but I do know drainage was provided around the entire development.
Okay.
Something could be plugged up or something went wrong with it too to cause the flooding, correct?
Correct.
I will make one comment that Mr. Cordes said was, if you are going to do a ditch project, you should be on maintenance. That is a number one. Because in a year or two, as we can all confess, that it just hinders flow. Little saplings start, and and you got growth, you got the briars, you got several brush. It just takes over in no time. And you got to have some way of going back there and redo, and as longer you wait, the more money it costs.
Now, were there ditches done in the past administrations that had no maintenance on them, Wayne?
Boy.
I don't remember.
I don't know because I never took care of them. I wouldn't know. I've never been around them, but
Let me help
we've
you
got
with
maintenance
that.
ditches and we mow them
Yeah, let me help you with that.
every year.
Since the county, on again, off again, was working on ditch projects, and it's been as funding could be made available over the last decade and a half or so, the requirement for participation was that the ditch go on permanent maintenance.
Okay.
Right.
I
Correct.
remember when they didn't have maintenance and you brought that up.
Well,
Right.
there was lots of projects that didn't have maintenance, but when county funding, when commissioner funding was involved, they did that. Also, another requirement, which was very challenging to meet, was they really wanted almost 100% of the people affected in the watershed to sign on board to the petition and be agreeable to it. I think they found out the hard way that lots of work wasn't being done because there was some folks that really felt that they shouldn't be involved in it, and they would never agree to the petition. So those things have changed a bit. The issue of permanent maintenance has reemerged because of doing work through the Stormwater District and through the grant process on some of these ditches. And I will tell you, most of the projects we're doing are on a much smaller scale than the size of this ditch. This is big. I know that the costs look extraordinary. We've spent this kind of money, but not on a ditch that was this impacting in the long range, because there's only a portion of that ditch that's being worked on. But it was decided at that point, since we had this fee coming in, that we were going to put these ditches on permanent maintenance, we would set some money aside in an account and have the engineer do the maintenance on them as if they were on an assessment for permanent maintenance. But every time we do a ditch and we set more funding aside for future maintenance, that's that
Less
much
to do
less
more
money
ditches.
to do work that needs to be done now. And that is just an evolutionary process that's doomed to fail somewhere down the road. So we do need to go back and revisit that, and I'm 100% with Wayne. If the maintenance is constantly there, then the potential for having to revisit and these folks having to pay more in the long run is significantly decreased. The look forward is what we need to do, not just fix it now, but make sure that it doesn't flood into the future. Wayne, you're not involved with the maintenance program. You just do the drainage end of it, right?
Right,
Engineer?
right.
So I'd hope that we do something that has I don't like things that are in perpetuity, but these kind of things need to have some in perpetuity to them, so we don't have to redo it over and over again. Groundhog Day.
Commissioner, I could.
Sure, Joey.
As we've discussed before, the problem here is that the vast majority, and as Jim said, there are thousands and thousands of miles of ditches in our county. The vast majority of them that were constructed in the early 1900s, when drainage problems and developments blocking the flow did not exist. So the laws then did not have any provision for maintenance or for upkeeping these. And it wasn't really until the 1950s that the law even provided for maintenance. So the problem we're dealing with now is we have these thousands and thousands of miles of ditches that, of course, we are now a much more urban county than we were when these were constructed, and that's why we don't have any money to pay for them, because they went years and years and years without any funding mechanism, and now, unfortunately, we're faced with dealing with those problems that the people back then didn't foresee.
Well, and to amplify that, lots of these ditches weren't designed to handle the amount of flow that's going to them from the massive amount of impervious material and surface areas that we're putting in. So we're exceeding the capacity of these ditches every time new buildings go in and they drain into a ditch that wasn't taking as much runoff from the property because there was the ability for it to percolate. That loads that ditch even that much more. There's going to come a time when these ditches just will not be able to handle, regardless of how much maintenance is done. I'm not going to be able to handle the flow because they weren't designed for this much impervious surface area.
Is that it? Any other
Well,
questions
Wayne,
from the engineers?
Yeah,
That's
Wayne,
correct.
Looking at the pictures that were provided, what's your assessment of his proposal?
It looks like it still was, when he took these, it looks like it's still in the construction stage because there's still fence still up, which is already blocking water. And the other parts look like they're in the wooded area and it looks like low spots, is what these pictures look. It's what they appear to me. I don't see a fill problem right against.
Well, it's hard to tell from pictures.
The water looks like it's trying to go to a swale and get out, but without having a better overview, I can't really tell. These are just taking little spots. Look like low spots, really.
I know you don't have a map up there, but what was the maintenance going to be done on that property?
On this property?
Yes.
Here's?
I think that's kind of tough, Tom.
Yeah,
some parcels, you're asking Wayne to remember one.
I mean, grading would always help, and maybe a tile installed might help you. You had to propose where it would go, yeah.
You don't have to have an answer right now, but if you talk with the gentleman in the back, and then before the next hearing, you get back to me what the actual proposal is, and then what your thoughts are.
Well, Tom, if I can add, though, the city of Elyria is going to look at that issue, too,
Well, they're
because of
gonna
the
look at that
bugs
from
with the buildup.
construction, right.
Yeah,
It's
I
got to
know.
be coordinated, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to just see what the original proposal was, and then what your thoughts are now,
Okay.
so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good.
Rob, were you going to speak next, or?
This gentleman first, and then I...
Okay.
Well, good morning. My name is Jon Abraham, and to all those that are here. I own 2 parcels of property on West Ridge Road. Obviously, that is part of the watershed. And as I've listened this morning to different people comment, I've lived in the area there since 1971. My residence is in Amherst Township, right next door on Overland Road. But due to my 2 properties that are in this, I'm involved. Some of the questions that I have, as Wayne Mileti, the county engineer, has pointed out, that section of land from Albrecht south, and of course that would start just north of Albrecht, because the tile obviously is set in the height of that flat, as he called it, and I quote him. Why was Twin Lakes given permission to build such a park in such a flat area? That's question number 1.
I would direct that probably to the City of Elyria, allowing the build out there.
Well, that's very good, but that's a question, and City of Elyria will have to address it. The second thing is, we're going to go through and we're going to clean out saplings, we're going to clean out silk and so forth. And it seems to me like unless you widen that ditch and make it wider across and deeper, you're putting a Band-Aid on a future problem. And due to the fact, like as expressed here earlier, there's development, and that does increase the speed at which that water runs into that shed. Consequently, I think if we're going to do this, do it right the first time, widen the ditch, make it deeper, and secondly, when we do that, that culvert that is under Russia Road, I believe is something like 9 foot by 16 foot, and that'll handle a lot of water. But the problem is, and I stopped into the Brookdale Cemetery, and they were not even aware that this was going on. And I said, if that ditch is cleaned, widened, and so forth, and it should be widened, they're going to get a lot of problem. So initially, it was proposed that this thing be cleaned all the way to the Black River. I want to find out why it was amended not to include that portion continuing on to the Black River. So those are some of my thoughts, some of my questions. I don't know who wants to address them.
Well, I would guess I would bring Wayne Mileti back up here to address why the petition was amended. I think he mentioned it before, but for clarification. Wayne? You may as well just sit up front, man. You're getting too much exercise today.
Now, may I sit down or should I just?
No, that's fine.
In case you have another question, you might want to.
No, I think I've addressed them.
Okay.
So,
we can
thank
handle
you.
one.
Thank you. The reason we did that and decided to stop it at Russia, because we went out and we viewed it in the field, the part that he's talking about from Oberlin Elyria Road and on down to the Black River through the golf course. Elyria golf course was being maintained quite nicely. I mean, they got it all mowed, and we had pictures, and it looked really great. And the other part on the north side would be the cemetery side is being maintained. So that's why we stopped at Russia.
The water's flowing there?
Yeah, fine. It's clear.
With plenty of capacity.
You don't mess around with a clear ditch, right? Why?
Right.
Why do that? You want to spend money? We don't want to. That's why we did it.
Do you understand that, Mr. Abraham? Where'd he go?
You can't talk from there. That's why I said you might want to stay up here, because you're not allowed to speak from your seat.
If the cemetery's going to maintain theirs, why touch it? You know, that's the basic option.
Hey, Wayne, do you want to go to the other microphone?
Good idea.
You can sit over there. Maybe there's a seat for you. Mr. Abraham?
Yes. When this first came up, and after the meeting that was held at the Twin Lakes Park, that same day, I drove all over. I was getting to different parts of the ditches. I went down, I looked at culvert sizes on Albrecht, Russia Road. I drove around to the cemetery. I stopped, talked to different people, and when you look at the whole picture, you know, they say, well, yes, the cemetery looked nice, the water was flowing, you know, and that portion to the Black River didn't seem to be a problem. But what's going to happen is, if you triple the amount of water that's coming into something that runs good now, that may not be the question later. You may have cemetery graves washing away.
Well, excuse me, Mr. That's the question I asked Mr. Mileti. I said, and it has capacity for a larger flow, and he said yes. That's the question I just asked him.
And if he's wrong?
Well, he's our engineers. We have to,
But
I don't have the
engineers can
expertise
be
of
wrong,
ditches,
too.
I'm sure you don't either, so we have to go by what our engineers recommend.
When we were out there that day, when we met you and did the viewing, that the ditch there at Twin Lakes is deep and wide, but it was not flowing.
I'm sorry.
So
excuse me.
somewhere along the line, it's being held up because the water was stagnant. It wasn't moving at all.
I agree with you.
So where is it stopping? You know, there's got to be a place where it's bottlenecked or something where the water is not flowing out of that ditch and it's not going anywhere. And that's a deep ditch.
Well, like I'm hearing these gentlemen behind me speaking, it's not big enough. It has to be widened, it has to be deepened.
From the north? Or well, that one flows south though, right?
At least from Albrecht to Russia. If you can get that problem solved, wider and deeper, and which means there's going to have to be some trees taken out along the bank of the ditch. Yeah, obviously, you're getting a little more work, but I've always been taught since I was a boy,
Do it right
the first time. And I see a
Measure
Band-Aid
twice,
here.
cut once.
Yeah, but anyhow, the problem is that we're not doing it right the first time, and we're going to be back here in a few years trying to address the situation again.
Well, that's why we have the public hearings to get this input, sir. But again, in the end of it, the engineers design how.
Yeah, but they're
ditches are
charging
done.
us to do what their thinking is.
Pardon me?
Well,
They're charging us to do what
Can
their
I
thinking
correct?
is.
Wait. Can I say something?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
The
Wayne.
petition reads to clean the ditch and to remove debris. It doesn't say anything about widening the ditch. Doesn't say anything about that.
That doesn't correct
Well,
the
how do you
fact that
address that as not
we're still doing a Band-Aid project.
This ditch has, like we viewed in the field, what part do you think is too narrow? Because it actually widens out when it goes south of Albrecht.
Then why is it plugged up?
It's full of debris and logs and whatever else is there. It's not flowing, but it's flowing south of Russia.
But it's not flowing fast enough.
It's not flowing at all at Albrecht.
No,
Right.
So.
it was the water
Then
standing
stop.
and it was deep.
If you want to say, let's take the rest of the petition out, let's go from Albrecht to Russia, they decided, I don't care.
Okay, you
You
know,
decide what you want, but I'm going to buy what the petition says right now.
well,
If
you know
wanna
what? That's a
change
good-
that petition, I didn't see changing it. I only changed what I want to do already.
That's
There's no
that-
more changes I want to make.
Can I get a
Not-
point in here?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That may be true, but the petition was amended once. Why can't it be amended the second time?
It can be amended several times.
And I think we need to get away from the Band-Aid project and do it right the first time. And I don't know how many of the people in this crowd agree with me, but I'd like to see a show of hands.
It should be all redesigned and it'll have to be all changed.
So-
Wayne, have you gone through and done the actual calculations
No.
on this? No? So right now, you're just looking at it, you looked at the
I'm just
petition.
appearing what's out there, right?
Right, so
Going
there
on
has
what
been
it
no
was at.
studies done to actually say that by doing this is going to eliminate the
Well,
problem.
with introducing what he's saying, do I really need to do that? If I got into that kind of work, I could be talking a lot more expenditure, a lot more money. Probably tripling on what I got right now to work with, so it wasn't a jump I really saw making, you know? Just wanted to look in the field. I knew where it's flat grade, it's slowing down, it's not wanting to move. Concentrate on that area. Once I get everything, flowing, then you can tell. I mean, this is for the money, it's a per foot basis, really, how much to clear and clean up debris. That's how we estimated it. I didn't estimate how much dirt I was gonna remove or anything like this.
That's an interesting point that he makes about estimating how much dirt he's going to remove. Are you going to be having trucks back there to haul out the dirt?
Well, there'll be some trucks, yes, because there will be running into some silt and some items are definitely gonna have to be removed, I'm sure.
Have you got an estimate of how many truckloads you're gonna
No,
take out?
No.
Do you have a guess?
Haven't got any design part into this yet.
Well, basically, I'm reading between the lines, and you're telling me there's not gonna be enough taken out. Enough
said
dirt and
yes.
silt taken out.
I'd just say it's not in the estimate right now to widen the ditch like you're suggesting.
Well, I just think it's a common sense thing, and I hear a lot of grumblings in the room to that effect that it's not being done right the first time.
Jerry may can issue this. I don't know if I have the right to widen that ditch. Do I, Jerry, with land use? Can I do that to people? Can I take away their land?
Well,
I'm not
we'd have
sure
to
I
look
do.
at the original easements, but if
I don't know the original easement.
somebody wants
They're
to
not
amend
on
the
record.
petition to widen it,
Right.
I just think the point Mr. Mileti is making is, we can make it as bigger and better as people want, but the cost is going to escalate proportionately, and at least in his opinion. I understand what you're saying, sir, and you have your right to your opinion, and the commissioners are listening to it. But Mr. Mileti is representing to us that he thinks, they try to do a cost-effective, we can build a Taj Mahal of a ditch there, but, these people aren't going to be happy with that assessment. He tries to give us the number that is the most cost-effective and is going to do the best job, and, they're not beyond making mistakes. It's a professional judgment call, and I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but we can argue here all day. I think we understand the point you're making, but we understand the point Mr. Mileti's making, that his presentation is, he believes, is the most cost-effective way to get the job done. Your point is, you don't agree that it's going to be a long enough lasting job, and we're probably wasting money on a temporary fix. So I think the board understands what you're saying,
Right,
sir.
I will take, that's as part of the public hearing, Mr. Abraham, but it
That's why
doesn't change.
that's
what
why
the
we're here to
petition
hear
is.
your opinion and take it into, but we can argue all day right now. I don't think, you're going to convince him and he's going to convince you, but the commissioners have heard your testimony and understand what you're saying.
Well, based on the fact that I can't convince him and he can't convince me, I'd like to get a tape recording copy of what's being transpired here, so
can do
4 or
that.
5 years from now, I can play it back to you.
Sure, you can get one, sir.
Yep, you
I'd
can.
like
I think
to
they're
do
available
that.
next week. Were they $5 at the Record Center?
Just have them contact my office. We'll
Oh,
take care.
contact the county administrator's office.
County
Wayne, is
Administration's
there
office.
overruns involved in a project like this? If you do come up against something that you didn't foresee in your first estimate as to, what needed to be done, say you did need to dig a little deeper and you did need to,
You bid it out, and then if there's a final cost, if you go over that, it will have to be added to the total cost of the project, and, it could go up more.
so we can,
Yeah,
then
there
the
could be a heads
property
up when it
owners would be
happens.
notified that the assessment would be more?
Right.
Okay. So
I think
if
that
they
is
do come across
Part of the
something,
process, yeah.
you may not know until you get in there and start, cleaning it out. You might find some things that you didn't foresee.
I think what I would suggest to Mr. Mileti is that he might go on there and come up with more specifics as to how wide the ditch is going to be, how deep it's going to be from point A to point B to point C, from Albrecht to Russia Road, and then see if that will meet the need down the road as more development keeps going in, faster watershed. Once again, I think we need to get away from that thought about, well, this is the cheapest for a temporary patch of the problem. So that's the reason why I want a copy of these minutes.
Sure.
Because we're going to have this problem down the road, as sure as I'm standing there.
Mr. Abraham,
Right.
also, all meetings are televised. I don't know, Clerk remembers the times. I usually don't. I try to
12 o'clock
avoid
on
seeing myself
Saturday?
on TV, so I don't watch, but you may be able to record them at home, and it'd be much simpler for you if you...
The Lorraine County Community College channel on Saturdays at 12, and then Monday evenings at 11 o'clock.
Well, it depends. Do you have regular cable or do you have satellite?
Well, actually, I don't think that's the problem. You're telling me that I can't get a copy of this?
No, you
maybe?
can, but you can tape
if
it
you wanna
yourself
watch
if
it
you
this
want to
Saturday, you
DVR
can.
it.
I was
No,
just gonna say-
I would just prefer to get a copy. I know it'll be done professionally, and I'll pay the fee to get that.
That's fine. I'll take care for you. And you have his name and stuff. Well, Sandy will contact you.
Thanks, Mr.
All right.
Abraham. I think
Jim,
Mr.
appreciate it.
Scheithauer had some comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one last closing statement here. Back when the commissioners had the ditch cleaning program, I petitioned 8 ditches for Elyria Township, and I was successful on getting 5 of them to go forward. And you know what? Now it's starting to haunt me. The residents are calling me up and saying, Rob, we're paying these taxes to have this ditch cleaned. They're not being cleaned. I'd like to ask the commissioners to contact the county engineer's office to find out where this money is being held and why these ditches aren't being cleaned. And Wayne, I know you say you do a walkthrough. A walkthrough is not good enough. We need equipment back in them ditches.
Rob, can you give us
Okay.
a list of those ditches so we can go back to which ones they are? Or
I'd be
does Jim
glad
have
to.
them?
I'd be glad to, but I know you guys got a copy of it, okay?
No?
Copy of what?
Of the ditches on the maintenance program?
Oh.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah, but we don't know which ones aren't being serviced.
Right.
The
None
ones
of
we're
them.
talking about.
I'm getting calls, and it's starting to haunt me, and I feel bad about it. I call up the county engineers, okay, I talk to Wayne or Bill or the lady up there, Linda, and, yeah, we're gonna go out and look at it. They do go out and look at it, but that's not good enough. And I don't care what the townships do with these ditches, it ain't gonna work unless Lorain cleans their ditches. We get Carlisle's township's water, we send our water to Sheffield, boom, Sheffield stops right there because Lorain's not doing nothing with their ditches.
I think I indicated earlier.
Yeah.
Right,
Rob,
north.
I'll call you.
Okay.
I'll take a
All
look
right.
at that, because we have the stuff to the stormwater now, and we're doing some
Right.
stuff.
I know that's gonna be addressed, but I'm just saying, that's where the problem's at. It's Lorain.
Yeah, that's, there's been a reluctancy upon the rural areas to work more with the urbanized areas on the drainage issues. Let's face facts, we got decades of mistrust and things that we have to overcome with them. But eventually,
Yeah,
and
well,
sooner than later, we have to.
there's years
address-
of this taxes being collected. Where's this money at?
Well,
Why
it's-
can't we
it's-
get
I
backhoes
can
out
assure
there?
you this, the money's escrow.
Right.
You know,
They're
when
all
it comes in
done
on the
per
tax
ditch.
duplicate, it goes into a specified, restricted account for that work on that particular project. So it can't go anyplace else. I'll have 2 questions that I'll try to get answered. One, why hasn't maintenance been performed if it's necessary? And 2, it could be that they're waiting for enough funds to accumulate in the maintenance account to be able to do that maintenance. Usually the assessment fee is small, and thinking that
Build
the
up.
maintenance may not have to be done for a few years, and then the money grows and they do a project. It may be that there's not enough funds yet to go in there and do a comprehensive cleaning of the ditch. So there's a couple complications there, but I'll talk to them and get back to you, Rob.
Okay.
I mean, Rob,
Appreciate
even
that.
over a 2-year period, the size of this ditch here, the maintenance is $5,785 is the annual maintenance fee. You can't clean the entire ditch for $5,800, so it's got to build up. I mean, we have parcels on here that their maintenance fee is 52 cents a year. You know what I'm saying, for their parcels, so I mean, that money has to build up to be able to get a project, you know, to do the re-cleaning.
So
and stuff like
it could
that.
be that they're slated for a bigger cleaning in the next year or 2, or even maybe some, I don't know the answers, but I'll find out for you.
Well, something ought to come out to inform the residents on what's going on with this money, I think. If there's not enough money, contact me, and when the residents call me, I'll say, hey, there's not enough money.
Is the engineer's office didn't tell you where, or why that's not being done, or where the money's at? When you
No,
asked them?
I didn't really ask that question
Okay.
on where the money's at. I know the money's there, but why isn't it being used? A walkthrough, just don't get it. You're not gonna clean a project up by walking through a ditch and saying, okay.
Well, I think the walkthrough, what it does is it indicates whether there's log jams or growth or obstructions that necessitate going in at this time and doing a project. I'm not sure whether the residents, need to have, maybe the ditch doesn't need to be cleaned now, but since they're paying a fee, they want somebody back there mowing the grass all the time because they're paying for it. My question would be, is there starting to see any problem with the ditch? 'Cause I think that's what Wayne walks through and looks for potential problems through that. Am I putting words in your mouth?
No,
Wayne,
that's
or-
fine, yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, so if the
We
ditch
look
is
at what we're
free-flowing
gonna do
and there
next.
hasn't been a large amount of growth and there's no log obstructions or debris obstruction, or as you get closer to the city, shopping carts and tires laying in the ditch, usually they don't do,
Exactly.
right, they don't do a project until they see that maybe in the next year, we're gonna have a problem, so we better get in here.
We yearly inspect these and write down any erosion problems, this type of thing too. So we always take care of that.
Well, Wayne, is there any way Elyria Township can get a copy of what you guys are doing with our ditches?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
I hate to not have an
What
answer
char-
when
we do,
somebody calls me.
We set a maintenance charge every year. It's usually 5%
Mhm.
on the total cost of the project.
Yeah. I'm not knocking the engineers. We just need to
We'll,
tighten the ship up
We'll
with
show you the
Lorraine.
money we have
Yeah.
in the,
Well, they're asking you the
till for
question,
each
so.
stage. Yeah. That's how it works.
Okay, thank you again.
Okay.
All right.
Anyone else wishing to testify this morning before we close the meeting?
Right up. Come on up.
Sir, did you?
Yeah, he was sworn in.
Okay, thank you.
Right up
I
there.
don't have a list.
Just state your name and address.
Good morning, I'm Jon Riffle. I'm the president of Horizon Homeowners Association. I represent about 28 homes over there, plus a lot of buildable lots. And we've heard a lot of people talking about what needs to be done, but I think I'm the only one here that has a solution that we've implanted. We put in a retention pond that catches all of our rooftop water, all of our runoff, even farmland around us is drained into our retention pond, and it's released slowly into the ditch, which stops most of the flooding over there, of our part. But our concern is, we pay a yearly fee, each member of the association pays a yearly fee to keep that pond up and keep that flooding from happening, plus our association must send a bill for the 6+ acres that we own there, which most of it is in the retention pond, which is keeping the flooding from happening. So we feel that it's unfair or double jeopardy for us to pay the fee for the cleaning of the ditch with part of it being to correct the problem of being the pond, and the other part is a yearly fee for our residents to maintain the pond. So we feel that it's a double jeopardy there, that if you charge us the full amount, we should not have to pay it. We're not against cleaning the ditch because it could, help us. And I know it'd be beneficial to Twin Lakes, but Twin Lakes has continued to build and create more park space, putting in more homes, and they have done nothing to contain their water. And we have thought about that problem and put in the pond to correct that problem and not cause flooding, and yet we'll be charged the same as they are, and we feel that's unfair.
First of all, we need your address. You didn't state your address.
I'm at 243 Skyline Drive. I'm right in front of the retention pond.
Okay. And Neil, if somebody mitigates the water from their property, like they are with the retention pond, do we look at that as far as reduction in the amount that they're assessed?
It really depends on how much it's involved. I mean, you were talking earlier about sandy soil. From the petition pamphlet, it doesn't bring up this type of items at all. Maybe a judgmental thing, but I have not included any of that now. I haven't, I don't plan on it, but.
I know for the stormwater district, if somebody mitigates the water, we take that into consideration.
What we do with the stormwater fee, if and mostly this has to do with commercial, but I'm sure we could extend certain provisions to residential stability programs. If a company has increased the impermeable soil to such a degree that the runoff is huge, they're going to be charged a big fee. What lots of them have done is installed various retention or detention
Which they've done.
engineering to be able to mitigate that. And as this gentleman said, the most preferred solution is a slow release through the watershed. It's worked very, very well, and as such, they enjoy some credits on their fee structure. The commercial end of it, usually the fees are much higher for commercial development through the application of the stormwater district fees. I think we mitigate up to about 50% of that fee for various engineering that either slows or retains some of the storm runoff from those properties. There's been some things on the residential end that have been done, but those are required when the buildings were put into place by various building code zonings or jurisdictions where they built to be able to build there. So it wasn't. They usually didn't do that because they were worried about
People downstream.
Right. They were usually required to do those as a condition of building. Unfortunately, in certain areas years ago, and in certain areas even to today, we don't have standards that usually properly address all of those issues. So sometimes we allow things to occur. And I say we, I'm talking about a community, not necessarily the Board of Commissioners or trustees or so as a community, and which have exacerbated some of these problems and accelerated erosion or flooding in other areas of the county. That's why we need comprehensive land use programming, we need comprehensive zoning, we need comprehensive building departments, we need comprehensive stormwater management, because as somebody said earlier, when you get to a certain point, we run right into the obstructions going to the lake, which are the cities, and they're wrestling with a lot of problems. Part of the problem is they're blaming us for sending too much water their way, and then we're blaming them because they're not taking enough water. Back when none of us existed here, it had a free flow to the lake, so we have to figure that out.
If you remember the hurricane that came up this summer, when we had all the rain, we had a gauge back there, and it measured 7 inches of rain in those 2 days. And our pond was able to hold all that. We have about 3 acres, and it's like 14 feet deep at the deepest side. So our pond is able to handle that water. We could have let it, all go, and there would have been a flood. But, by us maintaining and keeping that under control, we're stopping that. So we feel that we should have a reduced rate, not pay double jeopardy for that water.
Thank you. Any other comments for anyone who's been sworn in today? If not, sir.
Sir, were you sworn in this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Richard Pollen. I live at 44287 Russia Road. I have a farm on Murray Ridge Road and one right next to it that I rent. We started about 2 years ago cleaning this ditch. It runs through this farm. One of the questions I have is, can we clean this ditch ourselves?
No.
Why?
Not part of the process. Contractor will do it all.
Well, we've cleaned
It'll
about
be
half
bid
of it
out,
already.
Contract, well, from when we take over the project, contractor will do all the work.
You know what my share of the bill's going to be with the ground that I rent and what I own? $10,000. I have access to equipment to do this, and you know where I live, Wayne, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know where you live.
And you know where the ditch is that runs through my farm.
It's just, it'd be under the project rules. Because, and when it's let, then the contractor would be in charge of it to fulfill those duties. And what we instruct him to do, that's what he'll do.
What if there's nothing to do when he gets there?
You're going to clean your ditch. You're going to try.
I have access.
Try to eliminate your area out of the petition.
You're not going to eliminate. You're not going to have to clean it.
Well, I'm just saying. If you had it cleaned tomorrow, we'd have to inspect it and see if it could be dropped out.
You'd have to inspect it after.
We'd have to inspect it to make sure that if what you did, we could take over maintenance of.
I'd have no problem with that.
Well, I think the concern would be is from either end, north or south of you, everything
Right.
ties in and the flow
He's-
stays proper.
He's
not
saying a
just-
certain area that he would take out of
Yeah.
petition.
I mean, I have access to all the equipment, we own the equipment.
The reason we say this is because people do say a lot of things and it never happens.
Right.
It would be up to the board's decision anyway to drop you out. It wouldn't be mine.
Well, we would clean it. And if you want to see
I
an
mean, it's
example,
not
you
a
could
big-
come to
yeah.
the farm and see. All our tile outlets run into that ditch.
Well, that's what I think what's happening out there. You have, which is good to go through that ditch and, you know, regardless of the width and what it's exactly doing with all the growth. If you get along the bottom and you start taking out silt and you see what you got, I think you're gonna be opening a lot of tiles up you never knew you had.
I
And
know
I think
where
a lot of people in the area are gonna find out, like what you're finding. This whole area is gonna start draining better. And you won't have the buildup of the water that you got right now.
Water
Because the
doesn't
ditch,
go-
no, right now, the ditch is half full of water. So he says, well, what if it rains? Well, I've already lost a half of the ditch. It's half full. Another way, Lori says, why isn't it draining? Well, you got it blocked. It might be blocked by your area, I don't know.
It's
It
not.
was.
It
I'm not
was,
saying that.
yeah, it was.
If you took care of it, great. But this is the kind of thing we're going through, you know, this is the exact process. I'm trying to, you know, fulfill, I want to get it open. That's
There's
what I
no
want.
question that
And
the
I do
ditch
believe I
needs-
can open a lot of tiles up that will help a lot of people.
There's no question that ditch does need to be cleaned. I won't argue that. It needs to be cleaned.
Well, since 78, I mean, you know, that's a long time.
35
Yeah,
years.
I'm
so.
surprised it's been 78.
I mean, some have, you know, I'm sure been longer, but this is quite, you know.
See, that's
a long
very
time.
flat through there. There's very little fall.
I know, you don't have much fall at all. What I could tell, I haven't surveyed it. I do plan on getting some elevation shots.
Well, we have. I
do
know where all
plan on
my
doing
tile
that.
outlets are on the farm. There's not one outlet that gets underwater, not a one. The water doesn't rise very high there. Now, north of us, the farm between us and Russia Road, there are some issues there. But we've cleaned most of ours, and I just don't see why I have to pay if I already cleaned half of it already. The other question I had too was, you know, we're paying a rain tax. Now, maybe you don't call it a rain tax, but that's what we call it. Where does that money go?
That's what we were talking about, the stormwater district. That's
Is
what
that
Mr.
where it
Cortez was
goes?
talking about,
All
right.
right.
Correct, but there's thousands of miles of ditches, as our prosecutor said, and there's no ability for that amount of
Well,
money.
yeah, let me expand that for a second, if I may, Commissioner.
Go ahead, you've been running it.
And I like rain tax. I hadn't heard that one before, so I'm kind of use it later on when I meet with the stormwater folks. That's interesting. However, let's not misunderstand this fee that's been imposed, and actually it's been a minimalistic fee to begin with, the very bottom that we could go. We also have to deal with EPA, pollution, runoff, soil erosion on construction sites. That fee isn't just for ditches or ditch cleaning or flooding. It's supposed to accomplish a massive amount of work with a small amount of funding. And that's been the challenge, especially the EPA has been very, very challenging to work with on pollution issue, outfall issues. They want us to identify every outfall in Lorain County in the urbanized and the unincorporated areas.
I know.
Just going out and mapping that and doing that work and keeping track of that. And just when you think you got them, all somebody else puts something out there, and a new tile pops up somewhere, and somebody else is discharging. That's what that fee's paying for, all of that work. And the requirements for the EPA is getting more and more challenging. I found out just now that the Army Corps of Engineers considers anything that's got a high and low water mark to be waterways that they're involved with. So some of these ditches and some of these projects even have to have Army Corps of Engineer approval to work on. So the fee is not just because of drainage issues. They're larger community issues.
Well, this ditch was dug years ago, And I mean, it's being used more now than it ever was designed for.
That's what I mentioned earlier. We're going to be cleaning a lot of these ditches, but that's not going to be good enough in the future. I can tell you right now that no matter how well this is done, if the community continues to develop and expand at a healthy pace, these ditches are going to be inadequate to handle that development in the future, and a larger, more comprehensive plan has to be put into place for a bigger outcome. You keep building houses, how much water are we going to dump in this ditch before the capacity? I don't care whether it has how much fall, how wide it is, how deep it is. It's going to be challenged. It's going to have to either become a stormwater project with concrete buried drainage tile.
Instead of ditching how much flow per
Right.
year, I mean, you can set a ditch, normally it's 5, 10, 25-year storm.
Mhm.
Now, if I set it at 25 and we have a 50, it's not going to carry it.
Right.
Or if I have 100, it's not going to carry it. And this is the type of thing. Normal design is like 25-year, I'll say that right now.
And the
And
more
it's less water than your 100-year rain, so it's not going to carry it. It's
there's
gonna go where the
eventually going to be flooding. No matter how well this ditch is taken care of, in the areas that they're constructing in, there's eventually going to be flooding.
It's going to be flooded.
You can only engineer to a point. All we got to do is look at New Orleans, figure that out.
Well, those were my concerns,
Okay, Mr.
if I
Pollen.
could go ahead and finish cleaning it ourselves, because like I say, we've done about half of it already.
Well, we've got it in the testimony, Mr. Pollen, will be under consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address? Sir?
Come on up.
Somebody back there. Were you sworn in this morning? Okay.
We
You
can,
weren't?
we can swear you in after.
We can swear you in after.
Were you sworn in, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Robert Schwartz, the Carlisle Township Road Superintendent. We're in support of all the drainage stuff. Patricia Court is our street. We have the right-of-way area of that to be part of this project. I'm looking at this thinking that maybe you should give some SWAC money to the county, let them do a better survey, and be able to ascertain what's really needed, and then let the residents have a season where it'll dry up in that and be able to clean their own portions of the ditch, if they so choose, and be able
That's
to
the
let
issue,
them
Mr.
out.
Schwartz, not to interrupt you, but if they so choose to clean area, the ditch doesn't fix our
Yeah.
issues.
But this gives the engineer's office time to do their work, and the residents to do something that they've been maybe wanting to do, but now they have incentive, and then come back and see where we're really at with the costs and everything. So, just some thoughts.
Thank you.
Sir, you had comments?
Jerry,
Did you say
can
you
you
wanted to
swear?
comment?
Well, yeah, he'll swear you in.
He'll swear you in when you come up, sir.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, that you shall answer unto God or under the penalty of the law of perjury.
I do. My
Your
name's
name,
Ron
sir?
Hennis. I live at 43228 Albrecht Road. And my question for you is everyone, I'm assuming from what's sitting here, we're paying by what acreage we owe, or what acreage we own?
Correct.
Is that
If
how
it's
we're being
benefited.
billed on this?
Yes.
Well, I have a slight problem with that because Twin Lakes, it's all concrete and asphalt. How much runoff do they have? I live on 5 acres. It's all just plain dirt. I accept most of my water. And these farmers, this guy for 10 grand, and it's farmland, how much runoff does he have compared to Twin Lakes? You're letting these people that want to build more and more and more, they're the cost of the problem, they're making money, and we're paying for it. And how do you feel that is right? I guess that's my question to you. Think about it.
It's not our petition. We were given the petition.
Right.
You know, we didn't
By the
start
lady,
this.
by the lady from Twin Lakes.
Right.
She's benefiting from it, but she ain't paying her fair share. She's running all her water into the ditch.
Well,
Maybe
she
you
has a
need to
ditch
stop.
there.
Maybe you need to stop building a little bit. And to Abraham's problem, you can't keep making something deeper because water don't flow uphill if you ain't figured that out yet.
Right.
And then again, he took a 5-acre lot and had everything changed so he could make 3 dwellings out of it. But I guess that's right, because he can make more money. That's the only questions I got.
What was your address again?
43228 Albrecht. And I'm also getting billed for the Fowl Ditch, and now I'm gonna pay for another ditch? And the Fowl Ditch, if you look at it on Albrecht, You wouldn't know it was there if you didn't see the cattails, because it ain't got no depth to it. And ever since Lorain County Airport put the tiles across from the farm field to the ditch, which I don't even know if that was allowed to be done, it's just filling the foul ditch up with dirt.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis. Eric, were you going to say something?
Partially in response to that, but partially because I get the sense we're kind of winding down here, and I wanted to have one last comment on this whole thing. You know, to an extent, you're probably right, okay? This isn't necessarily the most fair system in the world, but most of our state statutes, unfortunately, were not designed with that in mind, or if they were designed with it in mind, they completely missed the mark, and this might be one of them. Twin Lakes, with our help and support, did petition under Chapter 6131 of the revised code, which designates exactly how this stuff is supposed to be distributed and the costs attributed. It doesn't make any mention of the type of construction on any one parcel versus another one. All it says basically is that any parcel that's going to be benefited in proportion to the acreage of that parcel is going to be charged a portion of that assessment. And when we make this petition, which is the only way to do it, okay, this is the way the revised code sets forth. If you want to make a petition, you've got to go forward under this section, under this chapter of the revised code. That's what it says. That's what we're stuck with, okay? I know the commission understands that. That's, you know, partially for your benefit, mostly for the audience's benefit on this. But, you know, realistically, do we think it's absolutely down to the line, down to the dime, fair to everybody? Probably not. You know, and for that we apologize. You know, we understand that. But that's what the code says, and that's what we've got to go forward with until the state legislature changes the statute, which probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. Okay. Going hand in hand with that, my final comment on this is directed to the commission. Jerry, in particular, just want to keep in mind that you know, there's a standard for this. This is a public hearing, and you have to make a decision on whether to accept this petition or not. And as convoluted as the state statute was, and it was written, it's a lot of nonsense, but really what it comes down to is a benefits versus burden standard. If you decide, based on the testimony of the engineers and various people who have testified here, that cleaning this ditch is some kind of benefit to the land around it, okay, and all these people's land that's affected here, any kind of benefit to drainage, and the benefits to the overall parcel that we're petitioning for outweigh the cost of this whole thing, it's a balancing act. If you find that, you grant the petition.
Correct. Thank you.
I know you guys understand that, but I just want to
I was
reiterate
going to
it.
say all that and wind up, but thank you very much.
I think I have an obligation to remind you.
Not as good as him. I wouldn't have said it as well as him. I said,
I don't think so, Mr. Kayla.
We have to follow the law.
Right.
Determination will be based on what the law says we have to do.
And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Sure. One last one, if that's okay, and then we'll close the public hearing.
My name is Stephanie Forthover, and I represent property on Albrecht Road as well as Patricia Court. I just have one last comment based on what the gentleman from the Law Director's office said, and the gentleman
Ma'am, we need your address for the record.
It's 9562 Patricia Court and 9563 West Ridge Road, and then I don't have the parcel number.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Given what the Law Director's office says, you do have to agree today whether you accept that petition, whether the
Excuse me, we don't have to agree today.
Or, I mean, whether the benefits, I just think that the question that has not been answered effectively, efficiently, whatever you want to say, is the cost of this project. So I don't know how we can say if the benefits outweigh the burden when the engineering department is not sure of what the cost. He basically said that they could get into it and decide it's way more. So I agree with the gentleman from Patricia Court who spoke earlier, if we could possibly have the stormwater tax fund allocate a small amount of money for some future exploration into what is this going to cost. I mean, we've looked at it, but can we get out there? I know that land, soil, water conservation, they do have ditch cleaning equipment. Can we get out there, look at it? What is this going to cost the residents before we can properly assess the taxes accordingly as to what is the cost of this project?
Well, I believe by the process, Stephanie, and I'll probably defer to Jerry Innes, if the project came back after estimates to be an extreme amount of difference, Jerry, was it over 10% of the expected
just
bid
so
amount? Let him do it legally for you, Stephanie.
Sure.
So everybody knows, it's just kind of the first step in the process.
Okay.
As Wayne had indicated, he's not done a detailed design. If the commissioners decide to go forward with this, it is instructions to him to go forth and design the thing. They then come back with more specific estimates and more specific charges as to what everybody's going
I
to
believe
do.
the question was, Jerry, that what happens when we get into something we didn't foresee?
Yeah,
That could escalate the cost if they're corrected, that's all.
Well, and at that time,
That could escalate it.
the residents don't have an opinion or don't have any say in it at that time. Is that how we understand this? That if you get into it and decide that the cost is double, then the proposed $134,000 that's been projected this time, at that time, because we've gone ahead with this project, we have no say and will be assessed accordingly based on the fact that you've decided it's $268,000 to do this project.
Excuse me, Stephanie, I think through their due diligence, we have never had that happen while I've been here for the ditch projects we've done. They normally have a 10% contingency added after the contract is drawn up, and we know what the numbers are. What happens, they normally don't exceed that. Have you?
We usually use 5%.
5% on the ditch cleanings? Okay, 5%.
Contingency.
Contingency, but we haven't had, that I remember, while we've been here in the last 8 years, that we've exceeded that 5% number where it wasn't. They're pretty good once they do all the surveying and know what they're getting into, and it's a more in-depth look. It's now, right now, it's just an estimate of what the cost would be. And going back to what Mr. Bruenig had to say, it comes down to a cost level. The law tells us what we have to do.
Okay.
If the benefit is a benefit versus the cost burden, then we have no choice but to
Well, the
approve
original
petition.
hearing on this at Twin Lakes was in December. We're now 1 month past that date.
Correct.
Why has none of that investigation process, surveying been done up until this time to give the residents a more accurate picture of what this is going to cost? We've had a month,
Excuse me,
over a
Stephanie, let me
month.
help you out with the law, though, and if you listen to Mr. Bruenig. It's not based on the burden, it's based on the benefits, what the state law says commissioners have to do. All your questions are valid. That would go on, if we approve to go forward, then he would come up with all of the exact numbers, the surveying, these true estimates, and then it ends up back here. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but
I
the law
just
allows
don't
us-
see how you can logically assess what the burden is when you don't know what that burden is for, because you don't have a dollar amount. What is the burden?
Correct. We don't have that
It's
until it comes back
educated
to us one
guess.
more time.
I would just comment, if it comes back and for some reason it came to be, in passing this, they would make an initial determination that, if they do it, that the benefit exceeds the costs. If it turns out the costs are way off, they have the ability to
shut the project down.
Okay.
Reassess the thing based on the actual.
Well, one
prediction.
last thing then that I'd like you to keep into consideration, given the comment about hard surface area versus farmland, right now it's just an equal assessment based on acreage. I think that needs to be thought about. Is the hard surface area more responsible for this than the farm, unoccupied land, and should there be a percentage assessment based on the amount of hard surface that are on these properties when you decide what the dollar amount is that's handed out to each resident based on what is on this property?
You can run
Eric
some-
would like to respond to that. Come on, Eric, you've got the code in front of you. Eric Bruenig again.
I mean, I would just respond to that in talking about your rain tax fee, which is something that the county control versus the state, as I think Eric is going to.
Yeah, and that's my whole point. It's not that it's fair. It isn't. It's that the state has come down with this, the legislature has said this, and we don't really have the authority to go outside of that.
So it has to always be an even assessment.
Until the state changes it. The county commissioners have no authority to do that.
Stephanie, we work by what the state legislature gives us. We're not like cities, county government. We don't make up our own laws, our own rules. The state legislature tells us how and why and when we can do something, and we can only do it that way. We don't have the ability to change that. So I understand the questions you're asking, but it's not like going to the Elyria City Council on an issue where they can change their ordinances. The county doesn't have the ability to change statutes, that's the state legislature.
And is it always based on acreage, or is there another
That's how it's
method?
done at
It's
the-
always
It's
based on-
acreage benefited. To the extent that can be changed, it's really just the engineer's assessment of which acreage is benefited, okay? So if they decide that, and that's, we already went through that when we amended the petition, when Wayne came back to us and said, look, we don't think this is gonna be worthwhile to go all the way down. It's gonna be, you know, an overbroad project if we do that. So we amended it, shrunk it down a little bit, because those extra parcels weren't going to be affected. So you can see that process at work. Again, it's not perfect. There's nothing we can do about that, but this is the only way that Twin Lakes and, you know, again, us in support of that, the city in support of that, can go about asking the commission to do this in the first place, because that's the way the state law has come down there. Not saying it's right, not saying we agree with it, but if we don't do this, we don't get it done. So.
I wish I could give you better something, but it's just the law we work under. It's no different than the state legislature passed how concealed carry weapons can be done in the state of Ohio. They've decided how we can do ditch petitions, and that's how we have to follow the law.
Right. And one last thing. It was brought up earlier, and Stephanie kind of touched on it a little bit indirectly, about, you know, the mobile home parks in general and how those work and how the city might have control or not have control over that stuff. It's the same thing with mobile home parks. That's a state statute, and it's governed by county health departments and all that kind of stuff. Our zoning applies to an extent, but we wouldn't, you know, the city doesn't really have control over how that expands either necessarily. Again, that's state law. So I wasn't necessarily prepared to make a presentation on that today, and I'm going from memory, but, you know, until recently, the city's had very little control over those developments, and this is older than that.
Is
So
Mr. Abraham still here to get that answer? That was the answer you were asking
yeah,
why
I
they
think
allowed
it
them
was
to
you,
build.
John, that asked that.
Well, just for the record, we're taking care of one of your mobile home parks right now.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Behind racks.
Actually, I think it's down now at this
Yeah.
point.
It's
So,
down.
yeah.
Mr. Cortez, now that we have this issue in front of us, how can we get this issue to the SWAC to maybe have some cooperative effort between the county, the SWAC, and?
Well, it doesn't have to go to the SWAC.
Oh, it doesn't?
Let me break this out so we have clarification. We use the word SWAC a lot because it just seems to fit nice in our vernacular. That's the Stormwater Advisory Council. The Stormwater District Board makes the decisions on what goes on in the Stormwater District. You know, clearly they do have some things they have SWAC working on, which is the grant process, and we have a subcommittee that looks over the grant request and prioritizes them for funding. But there's other things that the Stormwater District does that doesn't involve the Stormwater Advisory Committee. So you can make, the Stormwater District can make some decisions on at what level or no level they would like to participate in working towards a collaborative solution with this ditch project. So, and let me say, for those that don't know who the Stormwater District Board happens to be,
It's us.
it happens to be the same board that is the Board of Commissioners. However, you meet separately
Right.
under these archaic laws that keep being explained to us. You have to have different public meeting and meet differently to make those decisions. But clearly, the good thing is that you'll know what the issues are, and I won't have to spend 3 hours trying to inform you of them, and when we meet as the district board, so you can make some decisions on that.
Right, but we always look to them to give us guidance on what we're going to do.
Not on all the issues, Commissioners. We have a well-defined relationship on what we send there. The other issues are the district board. So if the district board is so desirous of participating, we have a meeting coming up. I have a need for a meeting of the district board. There's a couple issues we have to do, and we can have that discussion.
Okay, good.
Yes, I got to do it right now. Real quick, I was having a little sidebar over here with the assistant prosecutor earlier. If there's any interest in amending the petition, a resident can do that. You can go through and you can file amendment to the petition, and then it would have to be reviewed. If you would like more information on it, please see me or the prosecutor after the meeting.
We'll do that in 30 days. Right, okay.
So we will wait for amendments? Is that what you're telling me?
What's that?
engineers will wait for amendments done.
No, I'm just putting it out here.
Well-
The residents have talked about, what they could do, and that is one thing that
wants
they
to
could
clean
do.
his ditch, that's why I brought it up.
What's that?
One wants to clean his ditch.
Right.
That would be an amendment to the
Yeah, that'd be a
petition.
big
If he
amendment.
cleans his ditch and you go out there and
Right.
look at it
That's
and
fine.
it passes, and then you put it on permanent maintenance.
Then he'll go on, he'll still pay maintenance fees.
Right.
5% of the cost, he'll still pay that. But he just won't be in charge of the initial construction.
Well, at this point, Commissioner Williams, did you make your comments?
Yes.
Okay. At
I
this-
don't know if anybody else would be interested in doing that too.
Well,
That should be late, if they want to clean their ditch also. Or maybe other owners want to do that, so.
Well, let's put that out there in a notice. Like I say, I don't want to close the meeting today, I just want to continue it. We have 30 days to take other options that can be submitted in regards to this petition, such as cleaning their own ditch, and there were a couple other options we've written down here to look at. Can we pick a date? I figured you could, Teresa.
Say 30 days?
We have, within 30 days, we have to do
What's
this
that?
again.
What if you don't have no ditch to clean? I ain't attached to this ditch in no way.
Excuse me, sir, you can't do that from the seat there.
But he asked the question.
Okay, well, that's when we have to bring you up and around it. Give us a second.
Okay, January 27th would be afterwards, but that's our
January
first-
27th.
I'm sorry, February 27th, that's our first night meeting.
Okay.
So do you want to move it to that one of those first or the
Do it
second
the
or
Wednesday
fourth?
before that. How about the 20th? Is that the date? Wednesday, the 20th?
Uh-huh.
Can we schedule the meeting for, the continuation of the meeting for February 20th?
9:45, we have a presentation, so 10 o'clock.
For what? A presentation for what?
Kita.
Oh, that shouldn't,
We'll
I
make
told
it-
him only like 10,
Yeah,
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
so-
So we could do
That's
10
10
Well,
o'clock.
we have the one evening meeting in February too, the fourth Wednesday. That might be a good one, so residents don't have
Problem
to
is,
take
Tom,
off.
Tom, the only problem with that is having all the engineers people and all the legal people we need from the other communities here. No offense to the residents, but we need their technique, and if they're not available in the evening.
Well, Wayne,
Overtime.
would you mind coming to one meeting in the evening?
No.
I think it's important to have it so other residents who may want
Yeah,
to voice
that'd
their
be all right,
concern.
sure.
Eric,
One more comment, I'm sorry.
You have to come up.
What evening were we talking?
we're scheduling once a month a evening meeting.
That's fine.
February 27th, an evening meeting for you available, or and your engineer?
Yes, I can be here.
Because without them here, we really need to make sure those people are here to
Right.
answer questions.
Yeah, city councils, or cities are used to working in the evening, so.
I'm used to it.
No?
6 PM?
Teresa won't be here? No, we'll have to wing it with Janice then.
Yeah, I'll put everything I can together.
What day did we say, February 27th?
If you're going to do
The
it at 6
27th
o'clock?
in the evening, 6 o'clock. Okay, we'll continue the hearing.
We'll say, let's
Well, we
say
have one gentleman
6:15
that-
and you can
Oh.
get through your.
Do I need to give my name and stuff again, or no?
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
you already spoke.
Okay. If you guys would go on, that this guy could clean his own ditch, which he's still getting use of the rest of the ditch, just like I am. The ditch don't go through my property,
You're just in the.
but I have to pay for it.
But you're benefited, sir, the law states if there's a
But,
benefit to your
but
property.
so is that person cleaning his own ditch. He still benefit from the rest of it being clean.
Right.
So how does he get away scot-free?
Well, he's spending his money doing
Well,
the work.
you, sir, the one thing, you could file an objection. Jim, I'm going to ask for your expertise. How do you go through the objection process on that?
I actually like that you asked me, I'm not quite sure, but I will find out, and if you,
30 days to
if,
file.
There's an appeal process.
yeah, there's an appeal process, and you do have the appeal,
She said 30 days to file, you have to do it within 30 days. to
right, do you
file.
have the forms?
Well,
Do you
not
have a-
from today, because we haven't done
Right,
anything.
once the hearing is completed, then you have
Right.
an additional 30 to 45 days to file that objection, and it's all by code that there's no forms to fill out, you just have to read the code.
Right, well, is what I'm getting at, his $10,000 is gonna be spilled off onto the rest of us, I would assume at that point.
Yeah,
And then he's getting off, like I
think-
say, scot-free?
I think what
That
I hear-
ain't right.
I think I hear what you're saying is his mitigating factor is as significant as your mitigating factor.
I don't understand all that.
No, sir,
He's
just-
actually using his equipment and probably paying somebody to do it, I would assume.
Right, there's a cost.
So he's gonna have a cost to
We'd
it.
work with him. I'd like to work with him. I don't want him to go out there and just start digging, but we don't want to make it deeper, that's for sure. We got to get a permit for this, too.
But I know what you're saying, you can't mitigate it, you
gotta get
can't
a permit.
offset your
Exactly.
costs. I got
And,
gotcha.
and even if he eliminates his part of the ditch, he's still using the rest of the ditch that they're cleaning. but he's paying nothing for that. That's,
Well, that
I'm paying for part of the
$10,000
ditch being cleaned, that, I mean, I use it, I guess, but it doesn't go through my property.
Well, the $10,000 that he would take off,
drop out.
that whole $10,000 would drop off. It wouldn't be dispersed between the rest of the
It would be in the
residents.
total, and it wouldn't be in his.
It won't be in the total anymore.
Right, oh, I understand that part of it.
He'd
But like I said, he is still using the same part of the ditch I'm using.
Right.
I got my part
Thank
clean.
Yeah, he's using
Thank you.
I'll move
I'll make a motion to continue this meeting to February 27th at 6:15.
Second?
Any further discussion? Ms. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
And just, you're going to say.
Yeah, Commissioner, just so you folks understand, you mark that date down, February 27th at 6 o'clock. You will not be receiving another official notice. We probably might put it on our website or something like that, but you're not going to get another letter or any notice telling you when that hearing date is. And for those folks that left, if you know them, I'd appreciate it if you pass that on to them.
What was the date again?
February 27th at 6 o'clock.
6:15, we'll continue the public hearing. We have business that
I mean,
night.
if you can't put a notice in the paper, it will cost money to do that, but I mean, I can, I'm just taking off the petition.
What's our process always been? Thank you. We have to continue our meeting on next with our public hearing on our solid waste department. Can we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, give you a couple minutes to clear out.
Clear out. Thank you very much.
I don't have anything other than this is a public hearing scheduled at 10 a.m. today for the proposed rules of Lorain County Solid Waste District pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 343.01G2.
Mr. Bailey.
We should have done you first.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here today to have the public hearing for public comments concerning the district's proposed rules, all right? This process actually started in late 2009 when you went out and asked for designation of landfills and transfer stations. At that point in time, there was only one company that asked to be designated, which was Republic Waste, and we did so. How can I say that? Because Teresa keeps accurate records, and Mr. Cortez and I went down to the EPA, and Jerry was there as well, and we had those records with us, and the EPA was notified correctly during that process. Since then, I've discovered 2010-284, which is a resolution that was passed at the end of the process, and in this new plan, we invoke flow control, all right? And in the new plan, which went into effect June 1st, 2012, it says that this waste was insignificant in this, that was leaving the county at that point in time untaxed. I did an analysis through 2009, 2010, 2011. Those are the ones that are available to me at this time. Have not done 012s because those reports will not be available from EPA till probably June, all right? That analysis says we're losing $40,000 to $45,000 annually in fees by letting waste leave Lorain County and go to other facilities other than Republic Waste. Is there a way to fix this? Yes, and that's the reason for the rules. The rules will provide us, my deputies, the power and enforcement ability to go out and identify these people so we can contact them and get them under waiver agreements. The rules allow for, under 2012-4 of the rules, allows for us to grant waivers to other companies. At this time, we have requests from Rumpke, Kimble's, and Waste Management for waiver contracts. What a waiver contract would do for us, we would get that $2 that we're not assessing this time. Today, we have an unlevel playing field. Republic's being charged $2 for our waste that they take to landfill, and the other companies that are leaving the county are paying nothing. So that's the reason the proposed rules on your docket today, and that's the reason we're taking public comment. Now, you don't have to hold these public hearings, and you don't have to have a 30-day written comment period, but we did. We have one comment from Elyria Township that says this is creating a monopoly. It is not, because the waiver rule allows us to grant waivers, which I'll be back to you hopefully next week with the waiver contracts. So This is an open public hearing on the rules today. And it was published in the Chronicle, and we took a full half-page ad.
Any comments from the audience? Sir? He was first. You can go second.
Hey, Jerry. Hey, folks may not remember me, but I'm a resident of Lorain County. My name's Don Johnson. I live at 412 U.S. Grant Street in LaGrange, Ohio. And I have some comments here that I'd like to read to you from myself and on behalf of the company that I work for, which is Kimble Recycling and Disposal out of Twinsburg, Ohio, with corporate offices in Dover. Excuse me. I represent Kimble companies doing business as Kimble Landfill and Kimble Recycling Disposal, both owned by the Kimble family based in Dover, Ohio. We currently haul refuse and recycling from 25 counties in eastern Ohio, including disposal of waste from Lorain County. For over 60 years, the Kimble family has provided solid waste disposal services in eastern Ohio with an excellent track record of operations in environmental security. We understand the Lorain County Solid Waste District has proposed rules which would have the effect of causing all solid waste generated in Lorain County to be delivered to the disposal facility designated by the Board of Commissioners pursuant to the district's solid waste plan. We also understand the only facility currently designated by the solid waste plan is the Lorain County landfill owned by Republic Waste Services. While the proposed rules also outline a waiver process whereby solid waste can be delivered to a disposal facility not designated by the board, we are not confident this waiver process would be a reliable, long-term means to maintain fair competition and access to the Lorain County disposal market. We believe the proposed rules could have the unintended consequences of limiting open and fair competition for the refuse collection and disposal market in Lorain County, resulting in higher costs to the citizens and businesses of the county and prohibiting our company from competing for profitable business. We respectively request that the district reconsider promulgation of the proposed rules and develop an alternate approach which assures an even playing field for private refuse haulers and disposal companies and open competition for the Lorain County disposal market, resulting in the lowest possible cost for the citizenry and conservation of local disposal capacity. In light of the district's approved solid waste plan, which only designates Republic's Lorain County landfill to receive the county's waste, we understand other private disposal companies have already submitted requests for waivers to other disposal facilities. Kimble Company, doing business as Kimble Sanitary Landfill, which we've already done, request a waiver from the Lorain County. We appreciate the opportunity for me to comment today, and we would like to reconsider. Thank you for your time. Any questions or comments?
And currently, all the waste that's taken out of Lorain County doesn't pay back our $2 a ton fee, correct? That Kimberly takes, or Waste Management, or Rumpke.
That would be, Mr. Bailey probably would be best to answer that.
Correct. Those are the three. I sit on the Solid Waste Policy Committee, Tom, so I'm very familiar with the process.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, not morning, but good afternoon. My name is Greg Beamer. I'm the Regional Operation Managers for Rumpke. Our business location is 3131 East Royalton Road in Broadview Heights. And we have submitted a request for waiver. I'm not going to go through my entire request, but basically, we believe that it is consistent with the district's plan. And by the approval of the waiver for us, we believe that the reliance upon solid waste going strictly to one location would burden the residents as well as the citizens. And, Rumpke does not have a issue paying the $2 disposal fee as long as it's fair and equitable across the board for all solid waste haulers. But by granting the waiver, it extends the life of the Lorain County landfill, and by tracking through the solid waste director, those fees could be paid back to the solid waste board. And the waste that we are growing within the area, because we are probably the newest player in the field, eventually will grow in the Lorain County. So the position that we take is that by granting a waiver, the total length of Lorain County's landfill will grow, and it'll be fair and equitable across the board to residents and citizens. So the consideration on your behalf as you take a look at this, we request and respectfully request that the waiver be granted. And if you have any questions for Rumpke, or because we did not get a response on the numerous letters that we sent in, understandably so, because Keith has been pulling that together. So does the commission have any comments or concerns on Rumpke's side?
Mr. Bailey, do you want to address the waiver situation with Rumpke?
Yes, I was told by my legal counsel that we needed to first get the rules in place, and once the rules were codified, then the waiver contracts we passed. What I intend to do is bring the rule resolution down next week, put it on the schedule for approval, and the waivers to be approved right after that in another resolution. So I'll be bringing waiver contracts next week for Rumpke, for Kimble, and for waste management at that point in time.
Yeah, and to help Keith out, a few of these things have been sitting on my desk. Keith has had them down. We just want to make sure that all processes are clean. And these are issues that potentially down the road, if not done correctly, could lead to litigation. Right. So it's been a little slow, and Rumpke has been patient, waiting for this. So it's not just Keith that was doing this. I had him on my desk. He forwarded to me in December. We talked about it in November.
Neil, you want to comment?
Yes. Yes, I'm Neil Lynch, 8132 Oberlin Road in Amherst Township, and Amherst Township Trustee. And in regards to this issue, Director Bailey is aware that Amherst Township objected to even the current solid waste management district plan, this being one of several of the items that we had raised objection over. The concern being that this does stifle the competition here in Lorain County, which we felt is very important. Right now, if this stays without the waivers or stays in place, we feel that that monopoly makes it more difficult for our residences and our businesses in terms of getting rid of their waste, and they're going to be paying higher fees. As far as leveling the playing field, our expectation is that these solid waste districts are across the state, and regardless of where this material flows outside of Lorain County, they're still paying some sort of tipping fee. It's just going to a different landfill which funds a different solid waste district. We don't really see that as a problem here in Lorain County in terms of Amherst Township Board of Trustees viewpoint. The way we see it is that's a long-term investment strategy here in the landfill in Lorain County. Because if we go back to the original reason for these statutes, it looks at conservation of landfill space. It wasn't recycling. Recycling is just a means to the end, along with several others, and just reducing the generation. And we felt if we maintain this landfill space, we're not going to run into the problem later where we're looking for another one, or trying to grow this thing higher, or burning it, or some other more costly method, because we haven't seen any community in Lorain County begging to have a landfill put into their community. So we would prefer that either waiver be granted. Our preference as a township was that this not even be included in the plan, and allow that commerce to be free in terms of the businesses here, since we think competition is actually good for our residents and our businesses here in Lorain County. So I believe the other two gentlemen representing actual businesses, I agree with them, and I am concerned when a government is stifling that type of free competition.
Thank you. Anyone else looking to comment? Anything else, Mr. Bailey?
We're allowed to do this by law, so we're not doing, I mean, we are doing things legally. I mean, he's making accusations that
It's within our plan.
We followed the letter of the law on this issue in developing these rules. Out of 52 districts in the state, 30 now have rules on the books, so we're not immune.
This type of rule?
Yes, ma'am.
Any comments, Commissioner Williams?
No.
I'll make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second?
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Bailey, you'll be with more paperwork for us for next week then?
You got it, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Cortez.
Yeah.
It's lunchtime.
Yeah.
I like it when I participate and see good governance going on. I have a couple things here this morning, Commissioners, very quickly. You are all present at the CIC meeting with Huntington Bank on continuing to subordinate our loan with Huntington Bank on a refinancing on the primary loan. CIC approved that. Unfortunately, I didn't get it to the agenda. It's just the second necessary step is for the Board of Commissioners to approve that to happen. I don't want to stall for this company. I brought it back from the meeting, and it sat on the end of my desk, and I didn't get it down the hallway. We had a holiday this week, and so I didn't get it on the agenda. So it asks that we agree to allow our second position to remain while they do the refinancing so that this company can continue to grow and expand.
I'll make the motion.
You said CIC?
Or CIC.
Yeah.
Lori wasn't there.
Lorain County Economic Investment
Oh.
Development
Lori,
Corporation.
Okay.
she wasn't at the meeting?
I
No.
wasn't there.
Oh,
See how it was just a couple days ago, and I forgot you weren't there.
Because I'm thinking, what meeting?
Wait, let's all tell her she was there and see what happens. The board did recommend, Lori, what it is we had a loan, a revolving loan for, revolving loan fund loan to the company, and we take the second or third seat with regard to placement of the obligation.
Okay.
Now, the company gets a primary loan. Usually those business loans are a short duration, where ours will normally be about 20 years. Somewhere down the road, they usually refinance the primary obligation, either for a better rate or because the loan is reaching its term. That's what's happened here. The rates are better. The company is growing, expanding. They've met all the commitments of their loan. They're not refinancing any new capital. They're simply refinancing the existing debt. So there's no more debt that's going to be in front of us than was before. But they have to get our agreement if they eliminate the debt, even for a paperwork transaction, that we don't move to the first seat and allow them to do that.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying. I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
I got one housekeeping matter. This company that does our shopping service for the WEA folks that sometimes need particular clothing and things to go into the workplace, they changed their name. We have a contract with them. They changed the name, so we can't pay them. So we simply need to change the name on the contract. Unfortunately, I need a resolution to do that. Yeah.
I'll move to approve the name change so we can pay the company.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
And lastly, back to the issue we were just talking about with the sewer.
issue.
I was in touch with the city while I stepped out briefly and called them, and then I had Sandy working with them. I have received a couple emails that I'll pass to you with regard to the fee, the rate. And the Safety Service Director assured me, and then I asked for a follow-up email, that the rate was capped at 150%. I sent him council's language indicated that we had reached an impasse here and that the agreement wasn't going to be approved without getting some consideration of a language change. He indicated to me that he didn't see much trouble with that language. However, it would have to be worked out between the councils, but the intent was to have a cap at the 150. I received that email back from him. Then I sent another one off saying, well, I need you to let me know if that language is acceptable. You saw he came back and said that the law department isn't in session today in Lorain, so that he went down there, but there's nobody to take a look at it. Wherein he said that he felt the intent was there and the council could work it out. That's the best I can do today with regard to that issue on the sewer agreement. I don't know how you feel about that, or you want to discuss it further.
Well, I'll make the motion, we go in discussion. Make a motion to approve number 14, approve and enter into a service agreement with the City of Lorain for Albany Ave, Sheffield Township.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I thought we were going to wait to try to get the service fee also negotiated, where they wouldn't be able to charge that.
Well, that's what he just went and made the phone call.
No, that was for the
rate.
The rate of
Right.
150%. Also, they can charge a service fee, trying to negotiate where they would not charge a service fee, since they're going to 150% rate
Mr.
increase.
Did you mention that to Mr. Fowler when you had that discussion?
No, I didn't. The service fee that's there now was.
They seem to be using it instead of the 150% rate for the other areas, because I know that was on the table. The mayor had stated that he'd do 150 and get rid of the fee.
Well, what he did was he negotiated the 200%, I
Right.
think it was, with a few of the board members, down to 130 with a fee. He wanted 150 all along. I don't know about these fees. I don't even know if they can legitimately charge a fee, in my mind. That's something I haven't explored, nor was I asked to explore it. But the one thing I do know, if somebody wants to do something, we can negotiate out no fees, and then they can come back and call it something else. I don't know how to close all those trap doors completely. My working on sewer agreements has always been working in the percentage of in-city rate compared to the out-of-city rate, but I did not bring up no fees or talk about no additional cost or however. I did present them with council's language, which was kind of simple.
I
sent them to them. Okay. Well, before they wouldn't agree, when we reached an impasse here, that gives me a little more leverage to go back, as you know, from negotiating. So they are in possession of council's suggested changes, and Safety Service Director indicated that he didn't have any difficulty, but I don't think your changes even address the fee.
No, I don't think I did cover that either.
Does council have to vote on this or not? Or is it all administrative?
I'm not sure what the procedure is in the City of Lorain. I deal with the administration, the mayor's office, how he deals with what his needs are. I don't know, Commissioner. All I'm doing is passing it along to you. This is, again, Mr. Williams has a position on it, and I understand that. I'm just trying to expedite getting some things done, and if you still want to wait, that's fine too.
You ready to move forward on it?
No, I want to wait and try to get that negotiated in there.
There's a motion on the floor currently.
In a second.
Do you want to withdraw and wait 1 week?
I didn't see any reason to, as Mr. Cortez had said, that this is where Lorraine's going to 150, and Albany's been going on forever. That's up to you, Commissioner. If you withdraw your second, I'll have it first, but.
Well, the thing is.
I
right-
don't think we're gonna have an issue. I think in
Not-
Lorraine's eyes, excuse me, Tom, I started and you can have yours. They were looking to get to the 150 rate. Mr. Cortez has said that multiple times now. And I think that's what the mayor, you said, also offered to Amherst Township, and you were on those discussions. I wasn't, Tom. You spoke with the mayor on the phone with Jim, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you had the last dialogue on this. I've gotten out of it since the board decided to let Jim do this, so.
The 150%, you're right. They said they would withdraw the service fee if they went to 150%. Having it that you already have a developer's agreement, and 30 years down the line, we're now at this point where we're raising the rate from what was stated at 130 to 150. By putting language in there that basically clears it up that there would be no service fee or additional fees, it's going to help whoever in the future. It may not be this administration, may be a future administration that tries to challenge it. By having it in the contract, it makes it stronger and gives the residents more of an option if they have to go into litigation. That's why I would like to see it put in there. If there's no intent to do it, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't agree to the additional verbiage in the contract.
No, they might be trying not to handcuff their futures like we're trying to not handcuff ours, so.
Well, it's
I
not.
don't know at this point.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to do it for government. I'm trying to do it for the residents.
No, I'm understanding. That's who pays in the end.
Right. And that's why I said I think we should at least go out there and try to negotiate this.
I'll withdraw my second and give Mr. Cortez an opportunity to try to see if he can get that as part of the negotiated outcome.
I'll withdraw my first then. Mr. Cortez, you have your marching orders. See if what you can do with the Lorraine administration in regards to getting fees
Eliminated.
guaranteed.
Yeah,
Not to
guaranteed.
be put in the contracts.
I'm perfectly happy to do whatever the board desires.
We need to get this done by next week, I believe, though, for Metropolitan Housing to take over these houses, correct?
Well,
January 31st was the end of the extension for the NFC, so.
Yes, and
Per that letter I gave you the other day, we haven't expended enough of the money. They'd like to see more of it spent this year, correct?
correct. But again, I don't want to indicate that I didn't bring this to the board until late last week because I didn't have the agreement in my possession. And as soon as I got it in my possession, I sent it out to you. So Mr. Williams did indicate that he got it Friday, and that's very
Sure,
accurate.
right. That's what I got.
The work was going on it, but things sometimes move rather
At the
slowly.
speed of government.
Well, it's not the speed of government, Commissioner. It's when parties disagree and they're trying to come into agreement. You go back and forth, and sometimes you just got to take a time out and then come back and revisit it. We really weren't making a lot of significant progress for a while, and so after the holidays, we were able to reignite those conversations. As I indicated, the city's position was much stronger and much more demanding, and they've come down significantly on that position. I'm not saying we shouldn't get this no fees. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. We are going to go out there and do what the board wants. But the delay was that we really just had to step back and wait for things to cool off a little bit. Especially after, we had a lot with the Hidden Valley, so there's a lot of sensitivities out there on both sides of the issue.
End of your report?
I think so, yes. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioner, I would like to request a very brief executive session to discuss a matter of compensation regarding county employees.
County what?
Employees.
Okay.
Just real quick, I want to wish my sister happy birthday on Monday. I'm not going to tell you how old she is. And I am now officially living in the county seat. I bought a house in Elyria, which hopefully to be moving in when the weather breaks a little bit, so.
So you closed?
Yep, it closed.
Yeah.
Yep. Should get the keys today. Can't wait.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Let me
That
change
it?
the thing in CCAO now. after
I
just
I
said
know. I still am getting my mail to the wrong address.
Well, you and I have both moved more times in the last 3 years.
Call me a gypsy.
Keep getting kicked out of your neighborhoods. If my board would put on their calendar tentatively, Friday, April 5th, Kim Edwards and myself will be co-hosting a legislative luncheon like we had 2 years ago at Berry's in Norwalk. That's our tentative date currently. We're trying to reach our state legislators, Senate reps.
Briefing?
The legislative luncheon like we had a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
With the state legislatures, Holmes County, Lorain County, Ashland County, Huron County, Richland County. I think that covers all the counties involved. But we put a tentative date yesterday of Friday, April 5th.
What time?
It will be like noon luncheon or 11:30 time slot on that Friday.
Transportation Center?
No, Berry's in Norwalk, center of the area. Remember
Oh.
the restaurant in
Yeah,
Norwalk?
yeah.
We attended it center to all the counties. They talked about a breakfast meeting at 7:30, but I felt the travel time would make it difficult for most people.
Okay.
Also, congratulations to Terry Stone. They got a new Veteran Service Director.
That's right.
Yeah, Terry from the AdVets. I've met him in the past. Seems like a nice guy. See what he does with the organization. Bob Joder said they had a tough time picking from 13 or 14. Also, last night, got a chance, I went out to Oberlin, David was there, Oberlin City Council did a proclamation for Shirley R. Johnson, and I'd like to know if we can put one together for next week. I met her daughter last night who was there, and Ron Rimbert, they had like 4 members from the city of Oberlin actually read the proclamation who knew Shirley for the last 40 or 50 years. It was kind of neat that he was talking about. I've got a copy of it in my pocket, actually. I brought a copy of the resolution, so I'd like to bring that up for next week. I'll have Tony Anner, the clerk, work on a resolution. Is that all I have for that? CIC meeting we met, we did that today in Huntington. Our land bank meets tomorrow at 9 a.m. I think that does it. Commissioner Williams?
Well, let's see. We had one ditch out in Gore Orphanage Road. Viewing on there. Did you mention that?
No, I didn't. I didn't mention Gore Orphanage.
All 3 of us were out there. And I did a tour of Murray Ridge Developmental Disabilities Program and Operations. Can you come up? And this is the reason that you see all the cards here. They had a art program going on, and what they do is the residents go through and they make these artwork, and they personalize it on the back. And this is going to be in a JPEG, so you'll be able to see it at the end of the meeting as well. And they turn them into birthday cards or holiday cards, and then the proceeds go to help the center. And I wanted to bring it here because as elected officials, we do a lot of mailing of Christmas cards to people, or at least I do. And I'm hoping that individuals would look at this for next year, or their birthdays coming up this year, and support a great foundation, or a great center. And I got a chance to go through and see the work center there too, and it was just absolutely amazing getting to see the individuals go through, put together the projects that are going on, and really brought out the desire to get back into the manufacturing field and the engineering field to go through and help out with those type of things. So if you have any projects that you need help with, I would definitely be willing to come in and provide my service. So.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer Judkins. I'm the PR director at Murray Ridge Center. And like Commissioner Williams was saying, these cards are, the Christmas ones are a contest we run every year where the top 3 designs from each of our OBCs in Elyria, Lorain, and Oberlin are then voted on, and the top 3, Superintendent Fisher uses them to send out her Christmas cards to various staff and people throughout the community. The other cards are done, and we use them throughout the year, birthday cards and get well cards and things like that. So it's really nice for our consumers to see that their artwork is being used. And we also showcase our artwork at the libraries throughout Lorain County. It's a traveling art show that we monthly go to different Lorain County libraries. And we are also going to be a permanent fixture at the new Mercy Health campus in Amherst. We will be on display. Our consumer artwork will rotate quarterly, but we will have a permanent display in the hallway there as well, because Murray Ridge Center had a lot to do with the new inclusive play area that they created at that Mercy Health campus. So we're going to be everywhere.
So I want to thank you for taking the time. I think we were out there for several
Thank you.
hours.
Yes, I believe the other commissioners have also come on a tour of our center.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we welcome tours anytime.
Yes.
Yeah, and you allow tours for the general public to come in as well.
Absolutely. They don't even need to be scheduled. People can come in and say, I'd like to see what you do here, and we will take them around. Usually for scheduled tours, we do the school, and then we do one of our OBCs, usually the Elyria one, because it's right across the street. But all of our facilities are open to any community member who's interested.
Right. And right now you're in basketball season as well.
We are in Special Olympics basketball season. We have 3 male teams, Raiders 1, 2, and 3, and then we have a Lady Raiders team, and they all participate in the Special Olympics tournament at Lorain County Community College at the beginning of March as well.
And basketball games, they can go and see schedule at your website, correct?
Yes, their schedule's on our website. It's also posted in our newsletter, which I believe many of you receive. And then you could also just call and ask to speak to me, and I will give you all the information.
Yeah, very exciting games,
Yes.
too. So.
Yes, they're
Now,
very
you had a
exciting.
big one last week. How did it turn out?
Very good. I believe they won, and then our Lady Raiders won, I think it was 52-18 was the score one of their games. So yeah, they're very exciting and high scoring.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Met with the as mayor for the dispatch collaboration, trying to get back with Grafton to become part of our 911 as well. So hopefully we'll have more dialogue with them in the next coming weeks. And Monday I'll be meeting with the domestic relations judges to talk about Turning Point, and that had some real good dialogue with the state and other counties on how they're handling it. I want to see what the judges' view is, and maybe be able to turn it into a revenue neutral facility. So instead of actually have to pay out. So, and last thing I want to do is I want to thank Mr. Lynch, my assistant, who will be leaving on Friday, unfortunately, for 2 years of volunteering his service here. And I just want to let him know how much I appreciate it. Came in, definitely took a pay that is well beneath his ability, and did it for the right reasons. He did it because he wanted to make a difference in the community. He did it to provide better service, and I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done. Fortunately, you are going to be leaving. Definitely going to miss you as far as working with me with the congressional members and our one senator on issues over the past year and things that we've started this year. So I'd like to give you a minute to come up, and if you have anything you'd like to say, or if not, I wish you well.
Well, thank you, Tom. I think I've talked up here more today than I have at any meeting in the last 2 years. I guess this is my opportunity to say goodbye. As you've indicated, I'll be leaving this Friday. I wish it was under different circumstances, but I understand the nature and the environment of decision-making in Lorain County government. I do also want to thank the many elected officials here in the county and the county employees. They were very welcoming, they were courteous, they were helpful during my 2 years here working with them, and asking many different questions and lifting up rocks that Commissioner Williams keeps saying, look under. I do want to thank Commissioner Williams even for asking me to work with him as he began his career as a county commissioner. For those that may not be aware of my initial reaction to Commissioner Williams' request when he presented the offer, I said, I better offer you a little insight. First, I had no history with Tom Williams. Other than meeting him on the campaign trail is all I knew. But he is an engineer, so that was one good point for him. And he listened a lot. And he tends to be detailed and logical. That helped because my education, my training, my background, over a 34-year career, uninterrupted, was also as an engineer, working in various the medical, telecommunications, and industrial sectors, all here in Lorain County. So we've been very fortunate those opportunities have been here in Lorain County. Engineers as a group, if I can stereotype or generalize a little bit, they tend to be introverted, impatient. I think we know a little bit about that. They are problem solvers. They believe in technology. They rely on data. They rely on measurement. They prefer graphs over emotion. They prefer to work with other engineers. They're cautious. And the non-engineers, they may be labeled as aloof and grouchy. As you're aware, Commissioner Williams' background and training is also as an engineer, and he exhibits some of those characteristics I just listed.
Yeah, the grouchy one.
Well, I imagine that's probably why the editor in the Chronicle bestowed a tremendous label on Commissioner Williams as prickly. I really like that one. And I imagine these engineering type characteristics are something that Tom's going to continue with. It's in his makeup, and as much as some individuals may occasionally find it upsetting, you know, you just got to give him time. That's just the way he ticks. Now, I didn't immediately say yes when Tom asked me to work with him, Again, being cautious, I'm an engineer, I had to think about it. And again, go back to a cost-benefit analysis based on quantitative and qualitative data. I thought, first thing everybody thinks about a new job, you never tell this to employer, but it always comes down to wages. How much does it pay? How does that benchmark against others? How does it benchmark to what I'm accustomed to? So I put that on the cost side and said, a third? Man, that's kind of bad, but maybe there's a plus side. Looked at the plus side. Public job, better retirement, do a break-even analysis, ignoring the present value of money, ignoring the lost investment opportunity of the reduced wage, and I determined that my break-even point if I retire at age 67 will be when I hit 90. Not really that bad, because I plan to live to 100. My grandmother did, so why shouldn't I? And for those that have looked around here at the county, they know that when Tom lets me have lunch, is I make sure I go out and do circles around the city of Elyria to try and get my head back into a good place, and I'm doing exercise so I can make it to 100, and at that time thought I'd hit that break-even point of 90. I'm also a trustee in Amherst Township, so I had to be concerned with conflict. Contacted Prosecutor Ennis here and said, Jerry, is there going to be a problem here? And we discussed it, and we said there were some, but analyzing probabilities, not too bad. And what happens, you guys decide you want to rezone some property over on Golden Acres in Amherst Township. So now I have to recuse myself, stay out of all the discussions, and as County Administrator Cordez is aware, that caused some upset with different individuals in our township and in the adjoining community of the city of Amherst. But on the plus side, I thought, well, I'll gain an improved understanding of the revenues, the expenditures, what's going on in the county government, what priorities are being set here. Where on the outside, you always have your own opinion and may disagree with them. At least on the inside, you can gain a better appreciation and maybe influence what those decisions or what direction the county is going to go for the betterment of the community and people overall in giving back, and also for my own community, since we tend to be one of those little guys out there that seem like we're shouting in the wind and nobody's hearing. I had to put on the cost side freedom restrictions. I may come up here with different ideas that are opposed to what this board's position is. The biggest concern if they're opposed to what Commissioner Williams' position is. As an elected official, you usually like to express those positions, but it was a concern will you be tramped down on what you say. And that's pretty easy. I think this board knew prior to working up here, there's things such as, stormwater district policies and how we expend funds and where that goes to. And you just had a very small meeting of residents that have concerns with drainage and stormwater and now their rain tax. We've got the land bank funding. I think you're pretty much aware where I disagreed with what this board did. In that case, fortunately, was aligned with Commissioner Williams' position also. Sanitary sewer charges. What a coincidence that came up in this meeting also. Solid waste district funding and programs and recycling centers. Some of this prior to Mr. Bailey being here. Another coincidence. It came up today. Facility utilization and maintenance. Why we even have some facilities and what's going on and recognizing what that cost drain is and trying to understand what strategy this board really has in that. The fleet size that we have here in our rolling stock and what the management is and how when I see it, I measure it by either dust or inches of snow in terms of the utilization of those particular fleets. Building department, well that's not here, but I'm sure you guys will be discussing that again, and I may have the opportunity to speak at that, though I don't know if it'll be necessary. I think there'll be plenty of discussion by others. Safety and policing in terms of prioritization and the transportation network and the funding of that, recognizing there's a need, but how do you do that here in a county with our type of density? Another cost was Commissioner Williams had no political experience whatsoever and he's an engineer. I'm putting that as a negative coming into politics. Again, we heard he may be prickly. He may ask to delay decisions until he has more data. Son of a gun, what did he do today? Typical engineering characteristic. And I noted this down before he went through the delay today on your issue on a sanitary sewer agreement. He had no established confidence in this political environment. He's a member of a minority party, and I know it was during a fit of anger when he said he doesn't trust anybody, and I know that got great play in the press, and you know, they want to say he's paranoia. Well, I don't believe that. I know Tom, and I know that was more probably because of a loyalty to me and a concern for me, and I appreciate that. I really do. But then I looked at the benefit, and this was a tough one, and I remember going over this with my wife. I put on the same side as the benefit versus the cost. Well, Commissioner Williams has no political experience, and he's an engineer. He says, well, how can you put that on both sides? I said, well, without political experience, he has no baggage, he has no allegiance that will put him to tend to go towards a larger municipality or some other interest or some other elected official. His initial allegiance is going to be to the citizens of Lorain County. And I know as you move on in politics, it gets to become a delicate balance in going forward. And it's a difficult situation to be in as a politician. I was also concerned with generational differences. I know I've told Tom before, Tom, I've spanked people that are older than you. I was concerned since he's going to had different life influences than what I came up with, is that going to be some sort of conflict? But the benefit was that youthful energy. If there's anything I've learned about Tom, he can be like a tornado going on. Hey, do some research on this. Can you go check on this? And before you even get that done, he says, hey, can you check out this for me? I need this presentation. It's, Tom, I'm not finished with this. Which one do you want? Well, do this one now. You know, come along a half hour later, say, hey, did you finish? And you just take a moment and look at him. Tom, there's only so many hours in the day, and he's still doing that, and I'm trying to explain to him, Tom, on Friday I'm gone. I said, I want to clean my desk, I want to put this stuff away, I want to show you where things are, and I want to leave here. I then had the concern for my wife. You know, in a township, you don't hit the news media too much. But I'm aware here at the county that you always have reporters showing up. Fortunately, they've left now. But you always have reporters, and I knew that with that conflict, my wife doesn't take kindly when she sees things that are not always positive. She hasn't developed that thick skin. Fortunately, I come from a very large family. In a large family, you learn how to have a thick skin. She's going to develop hers, but I said, Georgianne, how do you feel about this? And she says, whatever you want to do. And I do appreciate that. Now, there were many other considerations, but they get very detailed. But I guess, as I stated earlier, I am leaving under different circumstances than I would have preferred. But it's just a minor setback, little bump on the road for our family. My wife and I have been very blessed. We've been blessed with the intellect and skills. We've been blessed with opportunities to develop our skills and our abilities. We've been blessed with good teachers, good educators, good educational system. We've been blessed with good health. That's real important. We've been blessed with a good home, good neighborhood. We've been blessed with 3 sons who are now healthy adults. I found out one of them played in a softball league that Commissioner Williams played in. We don't play softball anymore. We worry about getting hurt. We've been blessed with steady employment and above average wage. We've been blessed with good friends. Been blessed with a supporting family that instilled good values. And I've been blessed with a beautiful and supportive wife. I do want to thank this board for the opportunities that have been provided over the last 2 years. I hope I haven't been considered a thorn in your side when I disagree with your position. I do want to thank Commissioner Williams for his confidence and support. And I'm going to pray that you remain prickly. But thank you.
Oh, no, I'm going to want to thank you again for everything you did. Really enjoyed the even the debates that we had in the office, going back and forth on issues, but, just having somebody here to be able to discuss issues in detail that has a good understanding of the issues, and making sure that what we always said, we did the right thing. That was our model, and something that we did every day when we discussed it. And I know you're going to land on your feet. If it was up to me, you wouldn't be leaving. But thank you again so much for the 2 years of service. And Lorain County, you really don't know what you're missing with me missing this assistant. It's going to, good person. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
End of your report, Tom?
End of my report.
Anyone from the public wish to come up and say a few words? I figure you would, David.
Well, can we,
What?
The reading.
board
Oh,
correspondence?
okay. So move.
No, move the reading be waived.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
And then only next Tuesday's our investment advisory. You already said land bank.
Yes, I'm sorry.
What was that, Teresa?
Thursday's land bank,
Invest-
Tuesday's
Tomorrow's
IC.
land bank. Next
Right.
Tuesday's investment advisory, the
Yeah.
29th.
Okay, David.
Hi, David.
Hello, Commissioners. David Ashenhurst Oberlin. I just want to give Commissioner Kalo a chance to reopen his report for just a minute because Joyce Park was thanked as she retired, and Mr. Lynch has just been thanked as he left your employ. She just left the room, but I've had the privilege of working with Tony Shanahan over the last 8 years in many different capacities, and I know Commissioner Kalo not only does a lot with the board, but on the board's behalf with NOACA and with some other things. And so I just want to say, I know
Tony
she
is-
is.
she's done a
I
very
wish
good
you were
job.
here to get her up here. I'm sorry.
She
the
asked me not to
newspapers
say
aren't-
anything about her, but she left, so.
But, yeah, I would appreciate
No,
it.
you can
if
stay there.
would.
It's only going to take a minute or so. Tony Ann Shanahan has been a great assistant, 8 years with me, my right arm. She has done all my scheduling, all my prep for all my meetings, all my agendas. She has made sure I've been where I'm supposed to be at and have the proper materials to perform that function. So I'm going to miss her greatly after 8 years, but we'll carry on. David, any other comments? That's it? Okay.
Oh, there she is. Look at.
Oh. Tony, David made me say something about you. I told him you told me not to let it me, so. If anyone else wishing to address the board? Motion to go executive session is outlined by the county administrator and the county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye. Sorry.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.